Yeah. I know they mad for no reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Gotta move fast for a reason. I'm holding on to change my life. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Oh, 700K, I'm selling a Bitcoin. Haters mad, but they listen to this one. More profit coming to my direction. You know me, I don't need a mention. I got the remedy, ooh, yeah. They don't just follow me, ooh, yeah. You say allegedly, ooh, yeah. You would subscribe to me, ooh, yeah. Staring at chart, drawing a line. Make a decision, you out of time. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. Huddling, I'm staring at charts until I retire. Yeah. See what I'm saying? OnChain revolution. Done this. Boom.
Welcome back to OnChain Revolution. My name is Shizzy. On this channel, we cover the entire crypto ecosystem. What is up, guys? We have an amazing show for you guys today. We're live from the OnChain Hour, and today's episode is going to be great. It's going to be good. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. I promise. But we got Bitcoin right now sitting around $90,385. We got Ethereum sitting around just above 3,100. Tau down at 280. Absolutely a steal. The halving is like a week away, which is pretty nuts. Solana down to 135. We got Merlin Chain holding strong around 36 cents. Agent Hustle, same thing, around 35 cents. XRP staying above $2. I think that's very important for retail to kind of make sure that XRP stays above $2. Hyperliquid, $32, right? There's so much opportunity in this market. You just got to be brave enough to take it, right? So basically right now, what we're dealing with, it feels like summertime vibes. What do I mean by that? Well, if you remember June, July of normal years, it's just like no one's here. No one's paying attention. You know, it's almost like where is everybody? And that's kind of how it feels right now. It feels like we're going to be dealing with a boring December. I mean, it is only the 5th. We still have 26 more days left in December. But as of right now, it sucks, right? Everyone's like taking money out of the markets to pay for Christmas presents, like me included. It's not fun. It's terrible, actually. Like, it's almost like, what are we still doing here, right? Now, we know why we're here. We're here for financial freedom. We're here for opportunity. We're here for a lot of different reasons, depending on who you are and where you're from and stuff like that. But our main goal is the same. Our main goal is to make sure our families are set up for life. And I believe we can do that in crypto. Crypto is a new financial system that's going to take over the entire financial system, right? It's going to be an upgrade almost into the entire thing. Everything's about to come on chain. How can you make the most money? Well, being on chain, right? On-chain revolution is exactly where you need to be. And this is why we go live every day. This is why we do what we do, because we know that, you know, at the end of the day, the technology behind everything that runs in crypto is blockchain and these dApps and stuff like that. Everything is ran, and it will continue to blossom and make people a lot of money if you believe, if you're early. And it sucks, right? It sucks because we know we're early. We're just too early, right? That's the part that sucks. That's the part that people don't really understand. There's a difference between being early and too early. Like, for instance, in 2020, when I bought in August of 2020, I was early. If I would have bought in February or January or December of the previous year, I was too early. And that difference is months, right? But it can feel like an eternity. And I do feel like we're there. I do feel like we are on the cusp of something incredible that's going to change all of our lives. I just have to be patient. and that sucks. But we have an amazing show for you guys today. We're going to be covering a lot of different areas of the space. So without further ado, let's get this show started. We bring in my partner here, as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, buddy?
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Oh, man, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. Just kind of like every day. I'm used to the volatility, right? And so seeing Bitcoin, jump this way or that way doesn't bother me as much as it did maybe 2 months ago. And we are heading into a weekend, so I'm not. That makes me, if we're going to go through the sell session period for Bitcoin, I'd rather it happen over the weekend and have a reset for a fresh new week next week, right? So all in all, I mean, it's not bad, to be honest. Now, do I wish that we were more in risk on? Of course, right? Like the ecosystems in DeFi are getting wrecked, but there will be a moment where we do get there and it's going to feel good. And like you said, to kind of finish your intro about patience, I think that's such a strong kind of word right now, right? For our space, is like, you got to, I know that's been preached all year, and every cycle it's preached, but more so than ever this year. I think that if you really want, to experience the good times, you got to get through this right now and survive.
Yeah. And I'm personally ready to chalk up December as an L. I'm thinking December is not going to be anything special. I think next week's rate cut, being the 10th, I think is already kind of chopped in. And I do feel like people are going into the markets right now and taking out things to give themselves a good Christmas, right? I feel like a lot of people, especially retail investors in crypto, they're kind of pulling out right now. And I just can't see a run up going into Christmas. I'm actually hoping, maybe it starts January 4th, January 5th, right? But it's hard to see a run up right now. There's nobody here. There's nobody here.
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the other side of that fence because it's hard for me to see a completely quiet and depressed holiday season. And I know that we're not far from that, right? Like, we only have less than 20 days actually now till Christmas. But in our space, all it takes is flipping that switch, right? And sometimes you can be like in the deep pits of despair for a while, and then all of a sudden you're like at the peak of euphoria, right? That's kind of how our space works. Now, does it look likely? It doesn't look great right now, obviously, right? And so we got to see again. I'm just looking to Bitcoin where it wants to really find its footing, and we just broke down below 90K. That doesn't help, right? Whenever it does that, those things, it just kind of jumps back and forth. And we got some data today that came in and all these things, but this is like the short-term bears play, right? And you got to hand it to them. I think they had an opportunity here, but I don't think it lasts too much longer. So hopefully, if you're a bear, you took advantage of the last 2.5 months, 3 months, right? Especially this last month, and because we are officially out of QT. That doesn't mean all of a sudden we go into risk on and everything is euphoria, but it does mean that we've taken a step forward away from the tightening and the super dried up liquidity. And I was telling you pre-show when we were getting ready, I really feel like the moments that we had, some of the risk on sectors of our space the past 2 years have success. I feel like a lot of that liquidity was just Web3 natives that had success, since 2023, maybe end of 2022, and was kind of just recycling that into our space. And then, 2025, people started getting hit, whether it was, parts of the retail space getting hit with the Trump coin, and afterwards, and all of our portfolios getting hit because people had to come out of those to get into those opportunities, or October 10th really showed how dry the space is with liquidity. And so that is something that needs to be here for our space to thrive, right? We need the extra access liquidity. When is it going to come? And people might say, well, you can't rely on that. In fact, you have to, because that's what makes our space have the euphoria that it's had the multiple cycles previous. Without liquidity, you can stir up any narrative you want. We saw that, in 2021. Without liquidity, the best narratives can't even get going.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. But what about the narrative that potentially we've seen this and now we got to deal with this, right? What happens if, like I said before, like I said in pre-show, it takes 4 months to realize that you're in a bear market. What if, October, November, December, January, February, we're just sideways here and we're sitting here? Is there a predicament in your mind where we kind of repeat the scenario once we broke the trend? Can this be over? Can this be the top?
Short term, yeah, it can. And if that's the case, we got to live with it. And I think a lot of people are going to be tested, like really tested, the hardest that they've ever been tested with our space. And it depends on their involvement with the space, what they're going to do, right? Like, if that happens, and it would be a really short bear market, because I think we all know when the Fed chair switches that it's going to be go time with printing excess liquidity, right? And until then, that's the one concern I do have, is Jerome Powell just really not budging at all, right, on monetary policy. But he has to, right? They have budged. They've stopped QT. That's officially, they stopped it. So I don't think they had a choice, though. And so when they stopped it December 1st, that was something that they knew that they had to do, or else it's going to get even worse, right? Even worse, and they'll have to print even more than they already have to, which is going to be a lot. And I can't remember if it was the most recent liquidity injection of the last week or the one in July, but I think you said July was the largest one since COVID, since they've injected liquidity into COVID, right? And so I can't picture us in a risk on environment and crypto not experiencing great benefit from that. I just can't picture that. I think the guy's name is Financial Boffins on TikTok. He's this Asian guy that's really smart. He's really good at kind of macro stuff, and he's the one that was saying yesterday that QT's over, QE's coming, and they have to print. There's no choice. And he named the sectors that are going to benefit from that. He obviously said the stock market, and he said crypto for sure will. And we're so caught up in 2025 being just a doom and gloom year, which I get it. I feel it. But we're so caught up in it that we're not looking at the possibility of possibly one of the largest opportunities that we'll see in our life in 2026. Right? If you have people that aren't even really associated, because he's not that associated with the digital asset market, saying that crypto is going to benefit immensely from the printing, then I think we're going to see something that's going to benefit us finally. Now, how long does that take? That's the question.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. But so right now we're taking in a lot of tariff money. The government's sitting on tons and tons of tariff money, which, if they do stimulus checks with that money, that's not newly printed money, right? That's not them printing money. That's just them adding. They're basically adding to. They're giving it to the people, right? It's not new money being printed. So I don't think they have to right now print money. I mean, I think the only time they really want to print money is when the banks are in trouble, and the banks are looking really good.
No, they're not. They're really dry. And
Their earnings
that's what.
reports have been really good.
Well, cash on hand is dry. So, like, if you look at the most recent injection last week, that was because they had to, and that's one of the reason why they're going to print too, is because the availability is not there. And so it doesn't look good for the banking system from the data that I've gotten, right? Maybe I'm wrong with that, but that's everything I'm hearing, is that is part of the issue. And then if you go into the tariff situation, that's fine as long as we're printing as well. Actually, that's like on top of it, because now you have individuals that have excess liquidity that aren't really good at managing their money necessarily, and they want to try to make more. And where's the place to do it? So There's this theory out there that, and it's not, I don't think it's a theory, I think it's pretty fact at this point, that retail didn't come to crypto this year because they looked at it as being kind of a broke industry. It's not really good opportunities and stuff like that, which I do agree with for the most part. Like the people that maybe try to dabble and come back earlier, they got wrecked whenever the Trump coin came out. Maybe they didn't get into that. Maybe that's what drew them in. Actually, I did hear a lot of stories about the Trump coin, bringing retail back in and say, hey, well, okay, this Trump coin's doing crazy stuff. What else is there? And then they just get wrecked, right? And then eventually retail just gave up and said, dude, I'm staying away from that. So how do you get retail back? You got to show that there's multiple opportunities in the space, right? That's how you're going to get them back, because you can, make them feel have fear of our space from this year. But if you show opportunity constantly over and over, word's going to just eventually get around. It just happens that way, and people will come back for opportunity for sure. I can guarantee that. But we got to have a thriving market for that to happen. And then also with the stimulus checks being there, that can create that kind of excess money in their pockets. And then we have the printing of liquidity for some of these VCs. Now, VCs are kind of in a similar boat to that retail, to where they got burnt pretty bad in 2024 too, investing in what they thought was innovating sectors of our space. But if there's excess liquidity availability, then they'll participate as well, especially if the market does prove. So our industry needs to prove to retail and the VCs that, hey, look, it's easier to make money at this time period right now.
Yeah, 100%. I agree on everything you said, except the one part where you said like the tariff money. Because you have to remember where the tariff money is coming from. It's small businesses that are importing from China, right? I was watching this lady on TikTok. She has a small business, and she said, it cost her insane amount of money for the immediate order. The order took longer than she expected, and now she's paying over 100% in tariff taxes. So, what normally small businesses are the ones who actually invest. Small businesses, the people who have that, if they have any excess money, a lot of them, they invest in the stock market. They put it in a reserve, right, where that reserve can actually make money for them. And I feel like that's where it gets hit. Obviously, NVIDIA and Apple and stuff like that, they're paying it as well. But I feel like a lot of small businesses are getting hit really hard with these tariffs. And that's another reason why I think crypto isn't really going up, because the people who normally would invest are unable to.
I think that's a little bit of a reach. And this year, sure, they got hit, right? But I don't look at the small business owner necessarily as like the huge crypto investor. But also, one thing I will say is that, like, by 2026, I think the hope for this administration is that the tariff stuff will be very smooth, and situations will be figured out. And it's really been used as a kind of ace up Trump's sleeve to be able to get what he wants with negotiations. I think more than anything, he wants like GDP to thrive and manufacturing to come here for opportunities for people here, like not just any type of manufacturing, the top industries, AI chips and etc. Right. So we'll see if, like, I don't expect the tariff piano to be dangling over our heads next year. If it is, and that's a big problem, then I think like that they'll probably lose the midterms just based on that, if it's still like a big piano dangling over everybody's heads, right? So I imagine that they have a plan to get that smoothened out.
I think they lose the midterms regardless. I feel like people are just pissed off right now. I feel like the 72 million people that voted Trump in, I feel like at least half of them have been beaten down, honestly. So by tariffs, by crypto, by markets, by a lot. So, but let's move along. We got some comments here. My man Blazing Bandit is in the building. He said, "What's up, my dudes? Appreciate you." Jason Sinkar is here. My guy, he's a Monad. We got a Monad enjoyer up in here. Monad trenches have been hit hard. We're gonna get into the trenches later today. Richard Hart is a prophet, says Stan. Yeah, I still have to watch that video he put out, Stan. So I don't want to like comment on it yet, because I'm just kind of seeing what people are talking about. But a lot of people are saying that there's some issues with him right now, but we'll see. Stan says gobbling up Agent Hustle, LTC, ICP, HBAR, and Arrow. I think they're all amazing except LTC. I love everything else though. Webdrove says conviction is on chain future. The printing isn't if but when. I agree. Blaze Amanda said, "What's up, everyone?" GM, and then Webdro, my guys. Appreciate you guys hanging with us this morning. But let's kind of get into our first topic here. Bitcoin bearish narrative exposed. Risk on might be closer than anyone thinks. Here is why. Why do you think risk on is closer than many people believe?
Because of everybody knows it's inevitable that the money printer gets turned back on, and not just that it gets turned back on, that it aggressively gets turned back on.
Yeah.
Because if you look at what needs to be, put back into the markets, it's a lot. A lot. There's a lot of people that talk about, this legacy financial system and it's going to collapse, and we've heard that for years and years and years. But like the truth part of that is that they keep propping it back up by being able to print money, because if they don't, then it does collapse. So that's why I'm bullish that it's going to happen sooner than later. I think that if Jerome Powell is going to do his job correctly, that he does actually start printing sooner than later, right? That could be January, that could be late January, that could, I think at the latest, early February. But if he doesn't print, then it could really just be him trying to, be stubborn and not give the current administration what they want, because it's going to come, either way, if he does it earlier or if the new chair ends up doing it. And I think that would be late. Like if you're doing it in May, right, then you went into QT because you had to, right? So because you have to get closer to QE as soon as possible. That's the whole point. And so in the Bears, I think the Bears played, actually, I think they could have played this way better, but I do think they benefited, right? You have the people that, the big accounts, James Wynn, I know he gets poked fun of a lot, but he finally got one right, and he hit pretty good with it, right? In some of the other Bears as well, but I don't see as many Bears as 2022. Remember when 2022 there was like Bears everywhere that was coming out, oh, it's not going to turn around, blah, 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 which they were right at that point because Luna happened and stuff like that. So I think some of the Bears are a bit skeptical, and then but they could have played, like, probably fudded more aggressively the past, I would say, 2 months, 3 months. But you did have headlines that, from the large institutions that helped them with JP Morgan and all that stuff, shorting MicroStrategy, all that stuff, attacking Tether again and stuff. But I feel like, I think it's going to be like this short window that they had the opportunity and it's closing.
Yeah, I agree. I just can't see Jerome Powell entering quantitative easing right now. I can't see his unless he resigns early. I just can't see it happening until May. Because so there's one thing that will do that. If we can get inflation down to 2.1, if we can get inflation down to 2.1% year over year, I think he will. But right now, I mean, we're sitting at 2.9 on PCE, all the CPIs, the PPIs, all that stuff. We got some data points today we'll go over in a second, but I just can't see it unless inflation. He's not going to come out and say we're okay with 3% inflation.
But tightening is a part of that strategy, right? To bring the rate down more, right? So it's like
inflation down, yeah.
Yeah. So, the inflation percentage down, right? So they've already kind of made a statement that they're kind of closing shop a bit with that. You know what I mean? In terms of, I think they feel like, what else can they do, right? Obviously, they have to maintain and, not let it get out of control. But in terms of trying to get it to that 2%, I think that in their mind that strategy is done. They're done with that.
Yeah, I agree. I mentioned some data today. It is nice getting data again, though. U.S. reported that core PCE rose to 2.8 year over year in September. So we are getting September's data. So we haven't gotten October's data yet or November's data yet. But it's down. PCE is down from 2.9 to 2.8 in the previous month, marking a 3-month low. The market has expected a third consecutive month of 2.9, but we actually got 2.8. So inflation is dropping, but it's very minimal. I mean, we're talking 0.1%. So White House advisor Hassett, who everyone's saying is going to be the new Fed chairman, came out and said the Federal Reserve needs to cautiously start cutting rates, but they have been cutting rates. I didn't understand the statement by him today. I guess because they never asked him any questions prior, because now officially he's basically the new Fed
The
chairman.
front runner.
Yeah, well, yeah, he all he has to do is pass Congress, which I think he will. But like, you know, potentially, and then now they're finally asking the question, and he's like, I think they need to cautiously cut rates, which means 0.25. So he's actually coming out, and he doesn't want to do it rapidly. He continuously wants to do it cautiously, which means small cuts, but he wants the cuts to still happen. How do you feel about that? Him not coming out and saying 0.5.
Wasn't he saying 0.5 before, or was it somebody else that was on? Okay, he was trying to get that position, right?
Moran or something. He's he's on the Fed board.
Yeah. So maybe he's trying to play a little politics here, right? In the sense of like, I'm going to be working with all these guys. You know,
yeah,
I don't want to seem like I'm just going to be a yes man right off the bat type of statement, because that's what everybody thinks already. They're like, whoever gets in there is going to be a yes man for Trump, and you know, our industry is like, heck yeah, let's do it. But you know, like, there's other people in this world that work in that department or that sector, and it's like, make sure you have backbone, all to do your job type of thing.
Blazing Bandit says 3% is the new 2%. If Powell says that, markets explode. 100%. If he comes out and says we are okay with 3% from now on, it's a new world that we live in. He won't. You're right. Saint says we'll get our $2,000 check. If so, what the channel will buy. Honestly, if you give me $2,000 right now, I'd honestly buy Hustle. I think Hustle is the most, in my opinion, beaten down and has the most potential. But that's just me. Don't follow me. What do you think? What would you buy if you had $2,000 right now and you had to invest it? Where would you put it?
In this exact moment, I would look at the stuff that is probably been a little bit, I don't know, man. It's like, it's really hard because, you know, you try to think about what the strategy is. Like, everybody's tried like 10 different strategies this year. You know what I mean? And so obviously the one that people, I like what Gainsey said. He said, think of a coin that you're like, your conviction is so strong in that you just want to look at it every day of how much you're stacking, and you keep stacking more on top, right? And you don't care about the price swings or anything like that because you have conviction in that actual token. So I would take like my time and say, you know, what is that right now, you know, and probably do that, because I mean, I think that's a fair, like, safe strategy, is that like, if you're wrong, then your complete gut and intuition was wrong about that. Like, whether it's Hyperliquid or Merlin or Hustle or Bitcoin, it didn't matter. Like, it could be anywhere across the spectrum. Of course, you probably want to stay away from like new pairs and stuff like that.
Yeah. What about Ethereum though? Because my man Tom Lee says crypto has bottomed. And real quick, I just want to play this real clip from him so you guys can hear it from the horse's mouth here.
Number two, I think crypto prices have bottomed. And I think that in the next 8 weeks, we're going to shatter the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. I don't think it's going to be a 4-year cycle this time.
What do you think? What do you think about Tom Lee? I think he needs to say this first off for his investors. I don't know. What do you feel about this?
Yeah, man. I'm starting to kind of take his statements a little bit different than I used to.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't think that he
don't believe in Tom anymore. Wow.
No, not necessarily. I don't believe in him. I do think that he's playing a role though now, as opposed to, was he playing a role before? Sure, role of like a smart analyst, and you know, he still had his company that was, you know, investing in Bitcoin and all that stuff, but he's taken way more of a public role in our space. And, you know, in terms of that type of position, he's second to, Michael Saylor, right? And so he cannot not be bullish ever. And I don't like that, because like, whenever he was bullish before, but like, I felt like he was bullish and it was just like 110% genuine. And now I'm not saying it's not genuine. I just don't feel like it's 110%. Maybe he's more
Yeah.
like 90. And to me, I like 110% genuine forecasting from Tom Lee when he said that Bitcoin will cross 100K in 20, I think he said in 2020, and everybody laughed at him. And, you know, and then whenever he hits that, it's like you feel good about that for him, you know? And now, like, he's been talking about Ethereum getting to these numbers. I think he called in November that Ethereum would get like to like something like 7K or something by the end of the year, something like that.
I think it's at 10.
And yeah, don't quote me because I don't know the exact number, but I do know it was a new all-time high. And I'm looking at like the days left in this month, and that's going to be tough. Like we got 25 days left, right? And can it happen? Yeah, I mean, like volatility is natural in our space, but does the percentages go against him? I think so.
Yeah, 100,000,000%. I don't think that he's going to have any type of run up at the end of this year. I think next 25 days, and I would love to be wrong. Please, please, please call me. You know,
make Shizzy wrong, guys.
Seriously, honestly, but I just don't see it. I don't see a run up till January 4th. And I say that because that's when normally people get back from holiday.
Couple good comments about
vacations,
this,
but
though. You got Ryan Boylan. He says, I believe Tom knows his stuff. I feel people above him are allowing things shown, installing the inevitable. Yeah, I mean, look, the guy's obviously really smart. But he has pressures on him now.
He does.
And so that's the difference. And then you got Albert saying, so we're going to stop following the 4-year cycle now. The only thing that we have been relying on since literally the beginning of crypto, and we are going to bet on a new 5-year cycle that never happened before. So that's a great, like, I think it's a great comment because I had a back and forth yesterday in the Ordinal Hive space on X with one of our good friends, Norbert. And I'm in your kind of perspective, Albert. Like I'm not going to give the Web3 natives a hard time for getting this year wrong, because I've experienced previous cycles and I was in that boat. Like I felt like the people that have been in crypto since 2021, 2017, you go all the way back to 2013. There was a playbook, right? Eventually you learned it and you were excited to use it for that next cycle. The people from last cycle that were excited to use the playbook for this one probably are like, what the heck, right? Like this completely, but eventually things change. And the biggest thing that changed was the Bitcoin ETF this cycle. And if you look at gold's ETF, when it came out in the early 2000s, it changed the cycle of the price action. I mean, if you go back and look, so we can say, oh, we should have saw that, but I'm not going to beat people down for getting this year not correct for most of the year, because especially the experienced crypto people, because why should we think things are going to change after 12 years of the same way? You know what I mean? But I think you got to learn. You have to learn now and say, is this a new way of doing things? And I think that more likely than not, yes, it is a new way. And there's other factors too. Extending the business debt cycle out a year could change it. Maybe we go back to 4-year after next year. I don't necessarily think that's the case, but just learn as much now as possible, because we just went through one of the hardest years if you are relying on what you knew before.
Yeah, 100%. Old data is just not working. It's just no data is working right now, right? But I mean, who really knows? But Chris had a really good comment too. Chris says the economy is not doing as bad as people make it out to be. The crypto market alone is making people think in the box only. They are not seeing the big picture, and I kind of agree with this. I don't see. I mean, I just had a friend who left one job for another, and he had multiple offers, right? And then his people came back to him and said, "Hey, we want to keep you," right?
What
So
industry?
like, it was Los. He my boy, and he went from he's doing he was doing when you're getting an accident adjuster, from one place to another, right? Pretty easily. He had multiple offers.
That's a pretty fluid. That's a pretty fluid industry.
I guess. I agree, but I guess my point is, like, if you go to Indeed or you go there is jobs. There is jobs there.
There's jobs.
You know what I mean? Like, if I wanted the CNC job, I can get one tomorrow, and that doesn't happen in a shit world, in a bad economy.
Well, I think our the way that the United States is set up is it's constantly propped back up because of the cycle of liquidity, though, right? So it's actually it's easy, but also very hard if you keep that system going for our economy to actually go into a full blown like recession, Great Depression type of thing. You know, that's why a lot of times I feel like the recession word, the R word, it's thrown around for political uses mostly. Because there's the central bank can fix things with the big band-aids they put on, just put liquidity back out there, right? If that fails, if that system fails, though, that's whenever we could see like that Great Depression type of moment, right? But that's why I think there's always kind of like a flow of jobs. Even like, you know, there's moments where you're like, there's no one really hiring this and that. But like, I feel like even like my group of friends, I look back the past 20 years, they never were like, just like, man, I can't find any work at all or whatever, right? Everybody has one-offs here and there. You know, I remember there was a time period where like I was going through like, I think 6 months of trying to look for a job, and I found like the job I actually wanted, but it was a little hard. No, this was actually in I want to say like 2014, 2015, and it was a little transition for digital marketing during that period. But I ended up finding the job I really wanted. So I loved the company I ended up going for, or working with. But there was time in there. But then, like, you know, doesn't mean like the job market as a whole is just shit, because I feel like it's hard to do that with America because of the way our country is set up, and our capitalistic government, our economy, and all these things. Now, if our Ponzi scheme crumbles, then we're all in trouble.
Yeah, well, 2008, I struggled. I graduated in 05, right? I came out and, you know, after 2 years, I was working one job for 2 years, and then I quit, you know, October of 2008, which was the worst time possible to quit your job, because that's when the recession really started. I couldn't find a job, dude. I was willing to take, you know, $7.15 an hour. Like, I couldn't even find that. I went through temp agencies, and they were like, yeah, we have a backlist. Like, that was incredibly bad. And I just got into the workforce, right? And I'm not seeing anything anywhere near that right now. Not even tiny bit. And that's when quantitative easing actually was created. It was created in September of 2008.
Yeah, and I do think that regionally it also depended, because, but like, yeah, that time period was definitely tough in general for the economy, right? Because one of the parts of the Ponzi collapsed, right?
Yep.
And you had to fix it, and but I remember I got a job for an advertising like sales position, right? Digital advertising sales position during that period. But like, I felt like Dallas, Fort Worth, that area was thriving in terms of like business and stuff like that at the time. So I had a little bit of an advantage for that, right? But yeah, I mean, you probably go to like Vegas, Florida, probably Northeast, the areas that got hit the hardest during that period, probably going to be dry.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the only thing. But great comment, Chris. Really appreciate that comment here. Totally agree. We got robbed institutions this cycle, 100%. Stan says, okay, got that already. No, Stan says $2,000 in our pocket. UBI, Clarity Act, and that's one thing too. So Stan keeps bringing up the Clarity Act. Do we need the Clarity Act for liquidity to come to crypto? Is that kind of what we're waiting for? Because maybe that's something that we're not talking about on the show. That maybe we should be.
It's not going to bring back the stuff that and I don't know if we ever get that back, by the way, the craziness of the euphoria for like 3 months, because there's just opportunity of, just everybody went all the way down the risk curve.
Yeah.
So I don't think it helps that. And if people are looking for that, I would say don't rely on that, because if it helps anything, it's going to help like these it's going to bring smart people into the space. Like, it's smart, we have smart people here, but I'm just talking about like the kind of Silicon Valley type of innovators, the ones that like, they get funded, all of them always get funded. A bunch of more startups probably taking swings at things that are more like, logical type uses too for our space. We'll probably start to see Web 2 and Web 3 like meshing much more after something like that. So can it bring money into space? Absolutely it will. But will it bring the environment that we remember? I'm not sure. And I'm just having an open mind that maybe that might never come back. Maybe it does. But either way, I'm just going to try to figure out how I can win in this new era of things.
Yeah, 100%. We'll get a few more comments in before the Bitcoin price action. So Albert says, I believe Bitcoin did top, but since we are so used to extreme gains and blow off tops, we forget that Bitcoin has diminishing returns and slowly maturing. That's true. Blazing Bandit says Wall Street is in the middle, is in the market cap is still just 3 trillion. How do you feel there has been a top? He says, I think you're wrong, but maybe I'm in one who is wrong. I do like the back and forth for Ryan and Albert. I feel like they're so opposite of each other. It's awesome to kind of see this conversation. He said we all feel like we did not make enough money this cycle. That's why we still want prices. No, the problem is, Albert, the altcoins didn't run at all. I mean, their altcoins have. I mean, you can say XRP ran, you can say this one is, but there's one-offs 100%. Zcash, I agree with that. But as a market, we haven't even seen sectors at a time. There hasn't been any euphoria. I guess my point is, right?
It's because the only people that had money this year were the institutions that bought the blue chips and the safer assets, the people that made a ton of money from either last cycle and they carried over a little bit, or from last cycle, or made a lot of money from 2023, 2024. And it felt like, okay, there were still like players here with that. And that was it. Like outside, new participants didn't have money that they felt like they were willing to risk in our industry, and that's because they didn't see winners. That's point blank. There was only certain small groups of winners. Take the institutions completely out of that, right? There was no euphoria this year because of that, right? You had a year full of apathy. So whenever Benjamin Cohen's compares this year to 2019, I completely get it now. I completely understand it. And that's the one thing, and he tells it how it is. He's very black and white with things. And he says, the weird part about this post-halving year is that I want to say that it's over. The bull market is over. But with every bull market year, you have euphoria. And when you don't have euphoria, then it doesn't feel like a bull market. And that makes him feel like there's possibly something that's going to be brewing in next year, maybe, right? And so the market dynamics of our industry has completely changed because of that. And he in fact said, and I stole this from him, which, I appreciate listening to him a lot, or like his stuff, but he said 2019 was a year of apathy, and it reminded him of this year, even though timelines didn't really match up. But also another thing besides the 2 years having the apathy and then kind of grinding up was the ICM, the business cycle was both at lows during this year and 2019. If you look at 2021, it was very high. You look at 2024, or not 2024, sorry, 2017, it was very high. In 2021, it was very high. So if you got the ICM indicator down here matching with 2019, then he's more of an analytics guy than I am, right? So for him, he's just kind of like, okay, I can see why people feel like the bull run wasn't this year. You know what I mean? So it's making sense now to him and to me, because it just, that makes me feel like the business cycle year being pushed out another year from COVID is not just malarkey. There's some substance to that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Completely agree. Blazing Bandit says, not that I didn't make money, the wallet just won't let me spend it because his wallet's stuck. I forget every day. It's hilarious. Shh, don't say that, Yagobi. I don't want to come back. I don't want to come back. Albert says, I'm still holding ordinals as a hedge just in case we turn risk on, but I'm stepping back and taking a break from crypto. Well, I'm glad you're still watching our show. That means a lot, Albert. He says to get ready for 2027, 2028. Ryan says, great chat here. We can talk and have different views, but it's nice about it. Great stuff here. So thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you, man. He says there's been buying, and the market cap has been falling, and nothing that money will hit market cap soon. Keep the faith, 100%, dude. And he says time in the market is better than timing the market, 100%. Couldn't agree more. But let's get into our next thing here, which is the Bitcoin and crypto price action. If I can find there it is, the banner. All right. I'm ready, man. I'm ready for some bullishness. Come
I'm not sure if you're gonna get that, but
Oh my god. Okay.
yeah, it's
Price is
looking
different
pretty
than where it was.
for sure. It definitely is different. But we'll get into that here. But before we do, help us out, guys, on the YouTube side. Smash that like for us, and then subscribe to the channel. It's really important. It helps us a ton. And then turn your notifications on as well, so you know when we go live. And then on the X side, make sure you're following us on X, first of all, at OnChain Rev, and then share the space so we can get as many people in here as possible. Drop all your questions in all of the other platforms like the Pump Fund streams, the Abstract. I'm managing all of these questions and comments over there, and then Zora as well. And we appreciate each and every one of you guys. But let's take a look here at some price action. And I kind of had a feeling that this was gonna happen. One and two out. What is up, man? It's been a while. Did you see the comment down there? So, but let's take a look here at Bitcoin on the hour chart, which just golly, man, it's almost kind of like we worked so hard to get all of this back, just to give it back over here, man. It's this kind of stuff right here. Just this is very agitating. Even if we are heading into the weekend, and it could be like something that puts a tourniquet on a possible bleed out. But let's take a look at what Bitcoin wants to do here, other than ruin our weekends, right? But you can see right here, the MACD looks like it wants to continue down. It's already been like going on forever. You can see since Wednesday says, no, I will not stop. I will continually sell down, with this momentum here. We got to really see this start to break down a bit. And you can see the stochastics as well. We never made it to the overbought territory. We just ended up coming back down to oversold, right? So how long are we going to stay down here? Fridays are tricky. Sometimes we get a little bounce back in the late evening if we have a sell off, but today's been mind games all day, right? Like this morning we had a sell down to like 90,000. Then we had a bounce back up to almost 92 when the bell rang, to only have us retrace to 88. So, again, these Bitcoin price mind games just continually are going on. Now, one good thing could come out of this, though, I'll say, is let's just say theoretically that Bitcoin says, okay, my hang around price range for the rest of December is between 80, 87, 88, and 90 to 91. Then we get like an established range of that for the next week. Then some of the energy could flow to, down the risk curve a bit, and we could see something happen in that regard. So that could be the case. Or the other option would be Bitcoin says, nah, this was just me, normal pullback or whatever, and then tries to figure out where it wants to go. And then the worst scenario, which I don't expect to happen, is Bitcoin just dumping hard to like a crazy number. But let's finish this out here. You can see, for me, like I got to listen to what the indicators are telling me, and that's telling me that it wants to go down further. How much further? We will find out, right? We will find that out soon. We could be seeing stuff like 87, 86, but let's take a look here at what the data is telling us, at least till this is going to be probably actually more confusing, because it has been confusing since like 5 a.m. this morning. But you can see in this lower volume area here that support resistance is really kicking support's butt, all up in these ranges. Really, like, back here where it does volume pick up a little bit at the 89,200, support does kick back in here a bit, balances out a little bit more, but still resistance is still leading that price point area. Us kind of getting to this middle range, it's really, really low volume here. So, I mean, I shouldn't even be thinking about that, honestly. We got to work our way through this first. So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if we kind of range around 88 to 89, but if we fall and lose control here, we could start to see that 87. Okay, but downtrend is what it looks like it wants to do today for the next 2 to 4 to 6 hours for Bitcoin. Let's take a look at the 4 hours. So we did officially start the sell down pressure here, which again, silver lining, it is going into the weekend, so we can have less volume, less of an intense bleed out possibly tomorrow, which would be a Saturday, and then maybe Sunday we get a little bit of a reset, right? So that is the hope here, because I mean, on the 4 hour, I'm gonna tell you, this MACD looks like it's getting kind of strong to the downside, right? So hitting that 87,000, 86,000, that's probably in place, for today, honestly. Now, could we bounce back up? Sure, if we get there, absolutely. But this right here on the 4-hour doesn't make me feel good about the second half of today. But again, being Saturday is tomorrow, it makes me feel a little bit better about the weekend because I don't think it's going to be aggressive to the push down. Let's see what's happening on the daily. The daily, of course, we could not sustain the buy pressure because we haven't been able to do that for a long time. But maybe we get something like this, right? Maybe it's a fake out to the downside and we have a continuation here. That could be something that occurs over the weekend, and maybe we see that happening on Sunday, right? So let's say that we do get down to 87, 86 because of the hour and the 4-hour for today. But then Saturday is a choppy day, and then Sunday we have a bounce back. Then this could really reopen back up, looking, after looking like it's going to close, and that's what I'm hoping for. Or maybe we just go into a couple day sell pressure session, and it lasts till like maybe a couple days to start next week as well, and then we get out of it. I'm just trying to really kind of put some scenarios out there. As of right now, it's just showing that we're starting to see some cracks in this buy pressure session for the daily. So definitely something to look out for. You see this downtrend here, which almost looked like it broke, right? So, I mean, if you put kind of the situation like this, well, I guess not, still kind of in this trend. It would take more of to the upside to break this, right? So it's just kind of looking funky here. So yeah, let's see what happens with Bitcoin for the weekend and then early parts of next week. For today, though, not really feeling any upward price trajectory or anything like that. Let's take a look at Ethereum really quick before we get into the alts. All right. Let me get into the hour here. Woo! So we are right there. I said, managing to stay above 3,000 was going to be key, and it looks like we might lose that, and we most likely will. So you could see right here. I mean, we're most likely going to lose this $3,000 range here for Ethereum. You can see the hour just
Tom
really
Lee said it was the bottom.
the bottom, I think he's talking about like local, so you can kind of roll in the past maybe like 2 weeks into that. And so I think the lowest that we got to here was like 2,600, right? But for today, it's going down, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I hope I am. The 4-hour is a little bit behind Bitcoin here, but it's still in downwards trajectory. So I would hate same thing with Bitcoin, man. I would just hate to lose everything that we gained here. If we can just chill right there, and maybe go sideways. And so Bitcoin, you can see definitely just outpacing Ethereum in terms of where it wants to go. You see, compared to that Ethereum chart and the hour chart, like Bitcoin's already like pretty much almost eaten up this entire green candle here. But if we take a look at ETH, it's right here. So ETH is looking a little bit better. That would be a good sign if it said, hey, look, Bitcoin, F you, we're detaching from you, and so something to definitely take a look at here. And I actually compared the thing, but it's the same thing here because it's pretty much almost ate that whole green candle up there. Yeah, so ETH does look a little bit better. Maybe it does decide, hey, look, I mean, alts want to do our own thing for Christmas, and then everybody can be a little bit happier. The daily looks like it's broken down here, so we got to see how this plays out over the weekend as well. So I do like Ethereum in its position much better than where Bitcoin is. I'll say that. If you take a look here at the alts look nasty as heck. I mean, it's a bloody Friday is all I can say. Across the board, 6 to 8% with these blue chips and strong major to mid caps in the top 100. Nothing's really sticking out because I'm seeing multiple that's topped out in terms of pullbacks to the 10% area. I guess Aptos would be like the winner of being the biggest loser here, pulling back 12%. And then on average, we're looking at about 8 to 10% for everything else here, right? So Zcash is the only one that's green, which interesting, right? Zcash has just been one of those assets, man, this year. It's just so out of nowhere. Yeah, Luna
Luna is back.
Classic. Is was there a release date or something announced for Do Kwon-Do? No, I'm just kidding. You see, Luna Classic, by the way, was actually a fork of Luna anyways. It's up 71%.
No. Luna Classic was the original.
Oh, okay.
So they did fork
yeah,
it
that's what I
later
meant.
for better tokenomics. Yeah.
And then you got FTT. So it's kind of weird that like these two assets hanging out together saying, hey, remember the good old days?
There's a bull market somewhere. I guess it's in the crime coins. But
yeah, I guess so. But FTT up 11.5%. Luna Classic up 72% here. You got Beat not being beat down. It is up about 14%.
What the hell is Beat? There's always a coin every day where I'm like, what the hell is that?
You're like, what is
like,
that?
why is that in the top
164
200?
million? I feel like it's on BSC, some music thing.
Yeah.
And then you got Elgaran.
Oh, is that Audius? Did Audius do a rebrand? They might have.
Oh, yeah,
Audio.
Yeah, maybe that's the one that you're thinking about there.
Yeah.
And then you have Elgaran that's up 13%. So more green on the top 200 or the halfback of the top 200. And then
I'm curious.
What's up?
Go one more page. I'm curious if they're all beaten down too.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I will in a second. And you see Hex up here pulling back up 5%, and then Justin Sun's main protocol, I guess you would call it, on Tron up 3%, Pulse X up 4%. So the Pulse ecosystems kind of bounced back a little bit here.
They got hit hard though the last couple of days, 30-40% down.
Yeah, and then Zcash is up too. So it's kind of like the stuff that got beaten down, right? It's like the opposite. And then pretty much 90%.
Piverse is up, bro. Piverse is up.
Piverse, yeah, big utility. Piverse there. But yeah, so that is the alt market for you guys. Look, go touch grass this weekend.
Dude, the grass there is no grass. It's all gone. It's all frozen.
It's all touched.
No, it's all frozen. Like, it's wintertime. There's no grass. I'm just so tired of that. If I ever have to hear that again, I'm gonna go ballistic. Like, honestly, that's the worst. We have to retire that, especially after the last 2 years. We have to retire. Go touch.
Give us some bullish times,
dude.
And it will be retired.
Seriously. We got lots of comments here for roll call. Let's jump right in the roll call. I realized yesterday I didn't do roll call. I was timestamping, and I was like, I freaking miss it sometimes, bro. But we have been going into the chat more. So it's been, so that's why I think I miss it. But it's shout to ASAP Benji. You get the first today. Congratulations to you, my friend. We got Webdro is here. Shout to Webdro. Tim Baker is here. Hydro Sapien, OnePlus at Bitcoin is Truth is here. Shout to you, my friend. Abstract Pengu. Then we have Chips and Dip. K99 says, I hate these markets. I am here with you. Spindrift says, I hate crypto. Okay, one step further. And then Vader Time just says, chill. Ryan says, what's up, dudes? Appreciate you, Ryan. We got Stan is here. Jason is here. Shout out to you guys. Let's see. Who else do we have here today? Don't want to miss anybody. Got Mike Bennett in the house. He said, sup, y'all. He said 62K for ETH with adoption. Yeah, man. I think ETH gets.
Didn't he call 62K? Not Mike. Tom Lee.
Yeah, but 4 years.
Yeah. 62
long term that's his like long term. I think it does. I think Ethereum gets to 100K in the next 10 years, in my opinion. But Stan says, wow, Tom Lee is convincing. I love that. Yeah, man. I hope so. And we got the great Albert is here. What is going on with Rumble today? Not very happy with you. DJ Clitty Litter is here.
Going in and
DJ out. Is it? Then we have let's see who else we got in the house today.
That was a good comment by Clitty Litter, by the way, because that didn't happen. That was weird.
That is true. I forgot about
ETF
that.
though. ETF, that ETF really
that messed everything up.
Well, yeah, part of it, but everybody always our industry always looked to Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us when, and then when Bitcoin goes down, Ethereum goes up, alts go up, and then when Ethereum goes down, and then really risky stuff goes up, right? So there was a process to things, and they messed it up.
Yeah.
So
yeah, 100%. Garrett Gensler strikes again on that. Mike says, or I'm sorry, Albert says, we were all expecting a bullish Q4 after the halving year of Bitcoin, but then big players totally front ran that. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Blazing Bandit says Wall Street is the market cap. Oh, I got that one already. Sorry, I don't want to reread some of these, but there's a lot going on in here. The comments today has been amazing, guys. We really appreciate it. Blazing Bandit says, I agree. It's been building for me for 2 years now. The big boom is coming. I really hope so. One in, 2 outs. My guy, I appreciate you being here, hanging with us today. Chris says, I think the Euphoria stage was the meme coins, which came early, and with the Trump everything changes for a longer cycle, then things are maturing more, so the top coins will move less. So
yeah, so
yeah.
that's another thing that was really weird, is that, you know, part of that debate that I had yesterday, they were talking about how some meme coins went to crazy numbers, which was true, but they didn't last very long, right? The one that did last the longest was Fartcoin, and it lasted about 4 months of pretty crazy, right? But it just didn't feel like, you know, it didn't feel like everybody was you know, winning. And I felt like that kind of was the feeling from 2021 and 2017, right? Everybody was winning until everybody wasn't, right? In those cycles, whenever they were over. This time, it almost felt like there was like inner cabals, or like, you know, the selected few, like the Trump coin. First of all, that was very, like, if you got in and you were regular retail and you had no connection to like the Trump team or whoever was the team to run that, then you got in probably at like $100 million market cap. And that would have been like early for you. And you still have made some good money, because it went to 44 billion, which is absolutely nuts. But that took everybody else's liquidity. Like, all of our assets got absolutely wrecked.
No, 100%. 100%. 1 and 2 outs. Then we have Blazing Bandit says, my wallet shows 2 sextillions. My God, dude. I got it. Let me borrow some, brother. I mean, you don't need it all. You don't need all that. Blazing Bandit says, flashbacks happening. Albert says, don't forget that buying crypto, even just looking at it, releases dopamine. The anticipation is what some of us are chasing, not the actual profits. That's why crypto, it can be addicting. Ask ChatGPT. Yeah. Did we all just fall for it? Did we all just? Does it have anything to do with the?
There's a couple people that said on the timeline, you know, people that end up making a lot of wealth. A lot of them, they end up losing a lot of money and then learning through it, right? And some people give up before they can have that opportunity of making a lot of money. I think crypto's the epitome of that, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, it's like eventually you learn to be able to keep it and strategize to be able to do better with it. But it's so easy to get what Albert said, that dopamine hit. But there has to be the learning curve part of it. Because if not, you're always just going to keep going over and over, right? So if you have any like type of sense, eventually what will happen is you'll be, because the entire time you're learning more and more and more, like you're becoming more educated about the space, right? So you have advantage at some point over new participants, right? And so the idea is that, you know, you get to that point to where you learn how to manage this space, and they decided to throw a huge ass wrench in it this year.
Yeah, for sure. Albert says, if you don't believe me, it's similar to the dopamine that released in gambling. Yeah, I mean, technically it's the same. Yeah, everything red and bubbles. Ryan said, Tom Lee, yes, he did. He said, yo, my wallet flashed 63K 5 months ago. Let's see. Blazing Bandit says, and my vehicle you guys want to. He's giving us his car, so that's cool. Learn about your circuit works in your brain. Yeah, I don't want to go down that road yet, Albert. I don't want to like you be using ChatGPT as my
counselor,
my counselor right now. I just want to make some money, bro. Like, why is that so hard to ask? But that is roll call for today. We appreciate every single one of you guys who make roll call each and every single day. But let's kind of get into some other topics here. All right, so this is interesting. Yesterday, the ETF flows. So Solana and XRP spot ETFs saw net inflows on December 4th, while Bitcoin and ETH spot saw outflows. So this is happening on a daily basis. You're seeing outflows from the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs and monstrous inflows from the Solana 40 million. I'm sorry. ETH 40 million, Sol 4 million, and XRP. While Bitcoin has been down, but everything else is kind of grinding up there. Oh no, I'm sorry. ETH sold negative 41. Solana, XRP, and the Cardano or Litecoin or Hashgraph. Damn it. I shouldn't. I thought I had them all there. It cut me off at the bottom there. But you're seeing some of these altcoin ETFs kind of move up while Bitcoin and Ethereum moving down.
Is it the great? Is it
a lot easier to read?
No, I got what you were was saying. I'm chuckling a bit because it's like, are they doing the great rotation that we're used to? And it was, the crypto whales that were participating. Obviously, there's institutions that participated, I'm sure, with it before, but now they're doing it through the ETF and TradFi, right? And if so, like, is that going to benefit risk on? I don't know. The rotation could definitely be getting prepared for risk on and QE as well, right? Because if you think about the Bitcoin maxis, right? Let's think about them real quick. So I feel like Bitcoin maxis had a great 2 years, even though Bitcoin topped out at 126 and people, had targets of, including myself, I said, 250 to 300 to end the year. This was like in 2024 when I started that thesis. But Charles Hawkinson also had that thesis as well, right? But if you think about 2023 and these maxis having Bitcoin at 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, and you're going through 2024, 60,000, 80, 100, et cetera, and then eventually topping out in July at 126, or maybe it was October. I think it was one of those months. And they still had a great, a good, feel good, cycle, right? And so did some of the institutions that participated along their side, right? So now it's kind of like, okay, we go into QE, and does it trickle down? Because it seems like some of these institutions want to be holding Solana, they want to be holding XRP, they want to be holding, these other, assets, and you have to start somewhere with the risk curve. And this is that next step after Ethereum. How far do they go down, right? I think if we start to see stuff like Hyperliquid have a ETF, stuff like that, that's newer and stuff, then I really think that that's whenever maybe this access liquidity that we're talking about is, possibly going to be in our space next year can benefit some of more of like the crypto natives. Because I just want the natives to be able to have their opportunity. That's the thing that really bothers me the most of this cycle is the people that have been around, whether they checked in every week to every month. I think at least you got to check in every month. Like if you're only checking in every 3 months. No, I'm just saying like people that pay attention to their space.
No, I'm just saying your token could be migrating and you might not be able to proceed. If we hold any token, you should be looking at it on every couple of days.
But at least if you're looking at it every month, you kind of have some idea, is my point. Right?
Yeah, I disagree. I think it should be weekly. It has multiple times a week.
Okay, so that's not what the point that I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to say that like people that like are considered like knowledgeable in the space, right? And there's different levels to that, obviously, right? And so I want them to like be able to have the opportunities because I feel like a lot of those people have haven't had it, and some people have done okay, messing with some TradFi crypto stocks as well. Like Alpha Gamer does a great job, with that kind of stuff. But there's not many of those type of people. So,
no, yeah, I agree. But I don't want the people that check in once a month to win. F them. If you're not rocking with us on a daily basis, F you. That's just kind of my opinion.
If you're rocking on a daily basis, then you're fully committed. Right.
That's who I want to win. That's who I want. I don't want the XRP holder who comes in here and says XRP 10,000. I have a little bit. I don't want that person to win. That's my opinion.
Well, those are the people that are going to help the people that come in every day win, though. You know what I mean? So they got to see us win, and then they come in and, some of them will win if they know what they're doing. And then some of them will carry on until the next cycle, which we don't know what the cycle looks like anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Ryan says I'm fully committed.
Yes, you are. All you guys are.
What is Albert talking here? Joining a whitelist, anticipating a huge airdrop. These are the things that release dopamine. Yeah, I'm expecting an airdrop from ABS, from MetaMask, from Linea. I don't know. I'm just trying to get some dopamines, I guess, Albert. I guess I'm just trying to get dopamines, brother. All right, move along now. We got some really cool stuff to kind of talk about right now. But first, let's just get through this, which is Wintermute actually being assholes again. No, they're just doing their job, but they were dumping this morning at 91K. They're the big reason why crypto is down so bad. But you got to remember who sends their assets to Wintermute. Wintermute doesn't, buy assets and then sell them. They buy them and then transfer them to whoever the thing is. They're just a third party that helps you avoid arbitrage, right? So all they do is they dump it on different wallets and stuff. But they're a big reason right now why everyone's selling. You can see they're aggregating on Binance, Kraken, Bitstamp, and everywhere else, even on the blockchain itself. So, but yeah, Wintermute is a big reason why we are down right now. So
And they just posted a tweet like 2 weeks ago saying,
I know.
Things are going to get better.
Let's get into some innovation, though. So Base launched its Solana bridge on mainnet, secured by Chainlink and Coinbase, enabling cross-chain asset trading and liquidity assets between both networks. Base Solana bridge is now live on mainnet, and Aerodrome is simply one of the several apps on Base that can use the bridge to support Solana assets. So one of the rumors that are going around this morning, and I wanted to debunk this, was Aerodrome created this. Aerodrome did not create the Solana base bridge. It was actually the base team itself or the Coinbase team itself. And so this is a product from Coinbase, but anyone can access it. Anyone can put the API. So now you're going to see potentially anybody now can take any Solana token and easily bridge at the base using Coinbase custody. So it doesn't matter if you create a token on Solana, you can transfer it over to Base, no problem. They create the token on the other side for you. Now you can trade. They're going to see pools on Aerodrome now. Aerodrome is going to benefit from this. You're going to see pools for everything now being put on Aerodrome. Why? Because now you can use your Coinbase app, your institutional Coinbase app, and you can buy anything on Solana as long as it has a pool on Aerodrome.
Yeah, it's interesting. Aerodrome is definitely going to benefit a ton from this because of fees and LPs and TVL, all types of ways. Base is one of those chains that I feel like is looked over a bit by us crypto natives, right? Or us Web3 natives a little bit. Not because we don't think it's going to have future success necessarily, but because they kind of do their thing, you know what I mean? And they're not in the like nitty gritty. Like Solana is definitely in that. We're in the Bitcoin ecosystem, so we see a lot of that from that side. ETH and kind of, Base and stuff, they're just like quietly doing things, building in the back end. But I think Base is going to be one of those, have such a good advantage, and BSC will too, because of like the entities they're obviously associated with. But Base wants to win. They want to win. They're like quadrupling down on Zora stream. We live stream from Zora, right? Like they want that. They have a build on Base account to where you can see builders and all these things. And then this is another example of that, right? So they want to be everywhere and anywhere. And being able to do something like this can actually like setting this up can actually give Base exposure. I'm not saying they did it for this or anything, but it can give them exposure to like Dog, let's just say, because Dog has liquidity on Solana. So if someone wanted to say, okay, we want to put Dog on Aerodrome, they could do that, which is a Bitcoin rune, and you wouldn't think that would be you're like, how does that happen, right? And so I think this just opens up a lot of doors for Base, and be watching for Base because they want to be like the trailblazers and the pioneers of like several different sectors that Web 2 is going to connect with Web 3.
Yeah. And that's another airdrop, right? The Base token. So potentially by using the Solana bridge, you might be getting Base points, right? So potentially using it. But I think this is a response to the Trump token. So when the Trump token launched, the exchanges got killed. People were just going there withdrawing because you couldn't buy Trump the first 2 days on any exchange. So you had to actually go buy Solana, grab it to chain, and then do it. Now, if that ever happens again, all Base got to do is just go buy a giant bunch of the Trump token, use their bridge, and add a liquidity pool. Now you can buy it right through Coinbase, right? So to me, this is just a response to trauma that they've recently gone through, which was January, and they couldn't keep up with the amount of Solana coming up. They actually ran out of Solana at one point. So because they actually had to go to Wintermute and actually buy and get them to bring them go buy Solana and stuff, and the Solana price skyrocketed. I don't know if you remember that, but that was because all these exchanges were sending money to Wintermute. Wintermute was going everywhere to buy it, and because it was just coming immediately going on these exchanges and right off. But I think this is a response now from Base and Coinbase saying, hey, Solana, we need Solana. We need that never to happen again, and we're going to put this on Coinbase itself.
Yeah, so I think this is really good for if this becomes common practice too. And let me explain why I think that. So if you look at something like the Merle token, okay? The Merlin token, I don't know if I think you also recognize it as well, but when they bridged to BSC and made their token viable, like have trading volume and activity part of that Binance Alpha situation or whatever it was. First of all, the trading volume went absolutely nuts. The value of the token got stronger, right? And I think that like if this can be a common practice for the prominent chains and prominent liquidity TVL chains, it's going to drive the value of the top tokens up even more, because now you don't have to just rely on centralized exchange, and the centralized exchange doesn't have to rely on their kind of, like you said, their stockpile of what they have. If they get overwhelmed, hey, look, you can trade it on Base as well, or et cetera, they can get it from Base, whatever, to make the consumer's life easiest, right? But we've seen it work with the Merlin Chain token, right? From a BSC standpoint, why wouldn't it work for the Coinbase perspective as well with Base? I think it is going to work, and I think it's going to work very well. And for some of the prominent meme tokens like Fartcoin and Dog with Hat and those kind of ones from Solana, I think they're going to see some good support with that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the main goal, the 100% main goal eventually will be to put all the tokens on chain. Like if you buy from Coinbase, Coinbase is just doing it in the back end. You know what I mean? I feel like that's where Coinbase wants to go. I feel like, this is just the first step to make sure that, okay, they got Solana now, they got Base now, they have Ethereum now, bring in Binance, potentially a Binance bridge, but potentially you could be using Airdrome and, the Base chain to buy any token in the world because everything is bridged there, right? And then Coinbase just stops listing tokens, period, because there's no need to. If you wanted your token to trade on Base, just add a liquidity pool to Airdrome or any possible third-party decentralized application, right? Uniswap, who knows, right?
I still think that they're going to have their marketplace though, on their because they are a brokerage technically, right? And so
I think they want to get out of that. That's the thing. I think they no longer want to be considered a brokerage. They want to do everything.
Why would they do that though? They make so much money from that.
But they can still offer the fees for doing it for you. If you buy it, so you're going to have a Coinbase app. You're going to say, buy this. They're
going to be way less. It would be actually in my opinion, it'd be a dumb business decision for them to do that.
Yeah, but the majority of their business comes from the prime side, so they don't really actually make a lot of money via the
really. I don't know about that, man. They charge
go
a
watch.
Ton.
Yeah, but you go at the earning calls. Their main source of income is the OTC desk.
But
like
why would you cut
higher.
Even if it is a main one? Why would you cut a viable revenue stream that is? I know because I've used it. I use it a lot. So I know in that sense. I think whether you're right or I'm right in terms of if they end up cutting it off or not, we don't know. That's going to be the future, right? But I think that they're going to use Base for sure to make their lives easier. You know what I mean? And that's going to be with whatever situation, like you mentioned with the Trump situation, right? They don't have the stockpile or whatever, this and that. But I still think that there will always be a brokerage because they onboard the person that heard about Bitcoin from their work party or whatever. And they can charge that premium to those people because they will use that because it's easiest for them to use personally. And I think they will always have that.
You're missing one thing. So MEXC is going to be allowed to trade in the U.S. soon. Why the hell would I pay those Coinbase fees when
you wouldn't? You
No,
wouldn't.
Anybody would. I'm telling you, it's going to get really competitive. Their fees are coming down regardless. They're not going to be able to charge that anymore. They're not going to be able to. And especially, so what they're going to do, where they're going to get their make their money, hey, they're going to say, hey, you can buy Bitcoin, but if you want to withdraw it, that's how they're going to make the money on that bridge fee when they're sending you real Bitcoin for your base Bitcoin, right? That's where the fees are going to come from in the future. The people are going to pay way less in the future to buy crypto because it's going to be fully regulated in the US. They're not going to pay the fucking 2%. They're going to pay the 0.2%. And Coinbase is going to drop those fees regardless. So why not just, deregulate completely, not be a custodian of those coins anymore, and just put everything in pools? And that benefits crypto as well. That's where I see it. They're not going to be able to get away with those fees anymore.
Well, like they've already established themselves, right? And so for me, I look at it like the brokerages of TradFi. Now, if there comes a time where pretty much it's free, and you can look at when Robinhood came in and they didn't charge fees, right?
Exactly. Robinhood came
Fidelity did Fidelity and all these other brokerages didn't say, okay, we're going to go free. No, they stayed with their.
They did. No,
they didn't.
You're not paying for transaction fees no more. It was $15 before Robinhood. It was $15.
How many years? How many years did it take for them to stop that? It didn't happen right away. It didn't happen
one
right
year
away.
after Robinhood launched. Yes, because
I don't
Robinhood
know
launched
about
in
that.
2019. Dude, it was 1 year before E-Trade took away the fees. Not even 2 months since E-Trade took away the fees. It was $15 a transaction. I'm telling you, bro. It was immediately.
You're not going to get free transactions completely by using. I don't know. I'm going to look that up. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong. 100%. But I'm going to look it up.
Because
but what I'm saying, what I am saying is that like it didn't shift like Fidelity and all them to like be all worried about their client base. Their client base wasn't leaving them.
They weren't worried about the client base, but they did make fees free. You can go to E-Trade, you can go anywhere. They're not charged. They found other ways to make money using how Robinhood makes money, right? So you're not paying for it. If you buy Apple on anywhere, it's free now. But 3 years ago, it was like $15. And that's the thing too. It's like, why would anybody use Coinbase? Let's say you're cashing out $1,000. You have $1,000 and you're like, I need to go to cash. Why the hell would you use Coinbase, pay $100 when you can use something like Mexi? When Mexi is, you can sign up with an account and you're paying, $8. People are gonna be like, I don't want to pay. Why am I throwing away $90 because I'm using the better exchange? No, they're gonna use the cheapest way to go from one to the other.
Yeah, so Fidelity charges for options and stuff like that. They charge for option contracts and margin rates, which makes sense because that's like basically their version of leverage.
I'm telling you, man, I study this stuff. Like I 100% sure about this. 100%. But yeah, the same thing's gonna happen. And so it's gonna be better for Coinbase to just go on chain. Right, fully on chain, because that's going to be the cheapest way, and they no longer have to custodian in the crypto, so they don't got to pay for that either. We got a lot of comments here. Stan says Seeker token will be dropped. Another airdrop. Blazerman says Elon tweets, but Trump moons. Oh, I hodl it. Albert says waiting for Arrow to get back. Yeah, Arrow is probably one of the coins I think you have to own if you're an investor. 100%. I mean, not financial advice, but it's definitely going to be seen. I mean, I'm surprised there isn't more exchanges yet kind of copying what they're doing there. And then Blazing Bandit says, my Arrow on base came on 8 million coins, showing 9 million. He also said, just my opinion, but I hate Robinhood. Yeah, I mean, most people do hate Robinhood because they do some scummy shit, but they did, they stopped the fees, right? They're the main reason why we don't have fees anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and they basically sold our data and still do to.
Like I said, they're going to find other ways to make money. but
I mean,
they did make the fees free.
I guess Fidelity does that too because they have to make it up somewhere, right? Yeah. So in terms of our space, I don't know. I still think that they will. They probably won't be able to charge as much as they do now, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
But that's what I mean. That's why it's going to be almost free. It's going to be for Coinbase transactions in the future because they're just going to go.
So then what's Binance going to do? Because that's a lot of theirs. They do perps.
Binance's main money is perps, but they're going to go fully Aster. Everything's coming on chain, bro. I'm telling you. Like in the next 4 years, you're going to be buying from DEXs using Coinbase. You're going to be doing leverage platforms through Aster on Binance. It's coming that way. Everything's coming on chain.
Yeah. So
it's an on-chain revolution.
Yeah, so what they're going to do is they're going to show basically what the same UI, but they're going to pull from their chain,
They're
base
gonna
chain.
third party it for you. They're gonna make sure that everything is done in a way. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be like your wallet's still gonna be self custodian. They're gonna fill it for you, and they're gonna sell it for you. But they're gonna make the money. That's how they're gonna make their fee for those transactions.
So
So
they're
when you
still
go to
going to
Coinbase
charge
in
a
the
fee
future, but it's going to be very, very small because they're
on
not,
top
they
of
don't need a
the
custodian.
transaction fee on
Yeah,
the
they're still
chain.
going to get a fee of but it's going to be very minimal to the comparison. But my point was, with Mexi about to come to the US and stuff like that, there's going to be no reason to pay these giant fees. Like, I mean, it's $100 to cash out $1,000 on Coinbase. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
That's not
I
gonna
wonder. I
that's
wonder
not gonna last.
how quickly Mexi tries to dominate the space, because I mean, people can use them with the API right now, or
Yeah,
not
no
API, the
KYC either. I use it
VPN,
every day.
right? And
It's
so,
the number. But I would never hold coins there for more than a couple hours, right? I treat it like a restroom. I could get in, do my business, and get out. Like,
would you
but
change
that's
that
great.
perspective if they're doing business here?
No, because I don't believe in it. I believe in self custody. So I wouldn't. I want to hold my wallets. I want to hold my assets in my personal
I don't
wallet.
think most experienced people keep a lot of stuff in centralized exchanges anyways.
Yeah. I mean, it's stupid. You should always, not your keys, not your crypto at the end of the day. But if you want to go from Bitcoin to Solana and not pay giant fees, that's the way to do it. All right. The Chainlink Reserve added 81,000 link tokens, boosting their total holdings to 1 billion links. So Chainlink is buying back their token. Chainlink is one of the tokens that is going to be bought up by every institution. And the main reason is because the Chainlink governance. I feel like they're working with Stripe, they're working with every Coinbase, they're working with everywhere. They are the main bridge provider in assets and asset like data and stuff like that. Chainlink token is going to be one of the ones that we just see a giant green candle one day and never comes back. But yeah, man.
Yeah, I think finally people would be like, okay, they're where they probably deserve to be, because they don't just offer Oracle just price updated services. They offer different products that are in that Oracle category still, randomization, other data that's aggregated, and they could be trusted to this point, at least, right? Like, they are the leader in that sector. So these type of companies are like those companies in Web 2 that, like, you hear about, like Oracle from a long time ago, right? And you're just like, what the heck do they even do? You know what I mean? But if you look into Oracle, they do a lot of different things, right? One of them is custom OS for corporations and stuff, right? They actually compete with MicroStrategy with that. And so they have consulting, they have all types of different things. I feel like Chainlink is like one of those that, maybe a younger kid in like 15 years and be like, what the heck is Chainlink? You don't hear much about them, but their total value is going to be insane.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I think so too. I think they're going to be one of the biggest, largest, sectors in crypto. They might be. I'm shocked they're not a top 10 coin right now. Honestly, everyone uses them. Everyone. Polymarket announced the launch of MetaMask mobile app, introducing predictions market app built on Polymarket's infrastructure. So now officially, you can go to the mobile app on your phone and you can take Polymarket bets right through your phone. You will, if you are in the US, you do have to turn a VPN on though. And if you guys need a VPN, go to our site and get the NordVPN. But officially, you can now trade trade predictions right through your wallet, man. I feel like that's the new thing. Everyone's going to be doing that soon.
Yeah, I mean, and people that use Agent Hustle too, right? Because that's going to be integrated right in there. And I think you have the advantage with using Agent Hustle over that, because you're going to be able to ask questions about it. And Chris will get into that with us. But yeah, like MetaMask, I feel like is having a bit of a resurgence here. Because you look at them and you're like, man, everybody's probably that's listening in. If you're here, you have a MetaMask somewhere, right? Like download it on your desktop, on your phone. I have multiple different kinds of wallets, right? But they are obviously the OG, right? They are the original. And, I think a lot of people wrote them off and OpenSea off. And you're like, what's the correlation there? I look at the correlation as being two OGs with infrastructure that kind of were dormant and quiet to the public for a while. And now kind of having their, second win, third win, whatever you want to call it. And so MetaMask has that opportunity to continually be in the headlines. You know, they are based out of Austin, so it's kind of a lively headquarters for them. But we'll see, you know, because they have a lot of ties as well. People are waiting on that mask token. People are connecting them with Linea, and you know, they have what's his name, Joe Lubin. Which,
consensus.
you know, so a lot of connections with their company. We'll see, you know, if they end up having a really strong resurgence or just kind of another swing at it.
Yeah, and it's about to get decentralized, right? You mentioned the mask token. So eventually down the future, they're going to have a mask token, and they're going to be putting governance into it to where, hey, if you want these changes, you got to vote for them, right? You're in the future, you're going to be able to add anything you want to MetaMask as long as you hold and you can communicate with the rest of the 51% to get those things passed. I think that's going to be huge. And you know, they have a rewards program. I've been using their wallet more and more now because I'm getting rewards every single transaction. For every $100, I get 80 points. I've been just accumulating. I'm getting a Lena airdrop in January, and hopefully the Mask airdrop next summer. That's kind of what everyone's kind of predicting. So I think if you're not using MetaMask, I think if you use Polymarket, use MetaMask, because potentially going through there, you're gonna get an airdrop of the Mask token for putting the same predictions you would put on Polygon. But there is a little bit of a fee. Just so you guys know, if you guys do use MetaMask, there is a third-party fee when you're using the MetaMask wallet that you wouldn't get if you just went there directly. But you are also getting the airdrop. So. But enough on that. Let's kind of jump over to our next thing here. And every Friday, we are lucky enough to have the great guys from Agent Hustle. Today, we have Chris Dev. Chris has been on the show many, many times. But if you don't know what Agent Hustle is building, you are living under a rock right now, because Agent Hustle is building the most incredible AI out there. He will actually trade for you. Not many AIs can do that right now. There's like 3, and Agent Hustle is one of them. You can go there. You can do conditional trades on Agent Hustle. If you want to say, hey, buy Solana at 120 and sell it at 160, you can do that and never actually even touch it after you put that command in. Just be done with it. Come back to when it hits 120 and when it hits 160, and it's just great. But they're not only building Agent Hustle, they also have MigrateFun. And in about next week, we're going to see the biggest migration event in history. You're seeing about 20 plus teams go from one pool to another, all doing a rebrand, the biggest migration ever. You're seeing 9 teams come from one platform. We'll get into all that, but they're not just building that. They also have Emblem Vault. If you want to take your Taproot Wizard over to Ethereum to take a loan out on Gandhi, they actually help you out with that. And it's great too, because it's all decentralized and it's epic, completely epic. But without further ado, let's get this thing started. Let's bring in Chris Dev. Chris, welcome back to the show, man. Appreciate you.
What is good, everybody? Great to see you guys. Man, we have a lot going on.
You do. It's too much, bro. Too much. I can't keep saying this every day.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot going on. There's a lot to talk about. So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Friday's one of our favorite times of the week because we get to have you guys on, and you guys are such OGs in the space, and you've experienced so many different kind of conditions in the market. And before we get into everything you guys are building, I always like to pick your mind, Chris, because you do have, you know, that kind of TradFi financial brain. So I love to kind of hear your thoughts on the dynamics of the market. Obviously, Bitcoin still doing the juke out with us, right? You know, we see it at 88.9 right now. A lot of us were hoping for some sort of, some charity Christmas Santa rally or something here. What's your thoughts on Bitcoin, the market, and do you think we get a Santa rally?
It's over, bro. It is over, baby. It's over. It's very over. Now, I think that the market is just very dynamic, and it's continuously changing in the way that, it used to be kind of an insider's secret to tax loss harvest at the end of the year, where you had all these big funds, you had any institutions, you had anyone who was a serious professional investor that was really taking advantage of their losses to add to their tax benefit going into the following year. And so it kind of became like very well known to the point where even retail started to tax loss harvest at the very end of the year. And then because the market's so complex, it's much more dynamic. So funds and institutions actually started doing it more in like November or even like at the end of October. And so, you got this kind of crash going into the end of the year rather than all the way at the end of the year. And then it spooks people out. And I think it is even more kind of trippy this way, because then people think we're going to have a rough start going into the next year. But I think it's actually the exact opposite. I think that means there's a clean slate going into the end of the year, and even the following year, everybody's tax burdens are pretty cleared off. and they're ready for new positioning. So I'm bullish. I think 2026 is going to be a sick year. It's, I work in crypto. My life has been nothing but crypto for the past decade. I don't know. It's hard. I can't be not bullish here. I would be a charlatan if I just wasted my whole life here and I wasn't bullish. But I think we've got a long way to go.
Yeah, 100%. With everything that's happening, I'm in the mindset of sell in May and go away. I think being around crypto for a long time, the summers are terrible in the sense people just don't show up. They're just not here. So, and I think with the new Fed chairman coming in May, I do think that's going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news event. I think a lot of people are going to be buying in February and March, and then selling in May again as soon as he kind of takes over there. But a potentially bearish summer. But then I think it does pick back up around midterms. Are you kind of feeling the same way?
Yeah, but I think that I've been saying sell in May and go away pretty much every year for the past decade. I don't always do it because it is tough. And sometimes you're just like, the markets are so convincing. It's just difficult to even play if that's like your base case, right? But the thing about midterms is if you want a fair and optimistic sentiment, you have to have it before midterms. It can't just start at midterms. It has to start months before midterms. So it's actually like a leading indicator going into midterms, because if you start to pump the markets at midterms, everybody's already feeling gloomy. Everybody's already down. There's so much pessimism that you're going to get slaughtered in the midterms, when that's how people are actually feeling when they vote. So the euphoria, the more positive, optimistic outlook has to be well in place before the actual midterms occur.
So what's real quick, just what are you thinking? If you had to map it out for next year, what are you thinking?
I mean, I thought that this year would go a little bit better. It's been good, but it's had its struggles, right? So I was thinking we would have a stronger year. I thought it would cool off at the end of the year, beginning of next year, as people kind of sold some of those taxable gains. And then I thought it would pick back up for midterms and America's 250th birthday. I don't know. It seems like if we're going to have one birthday, it's the 250th. That seems pretty logical. Like, the next one would be like 500. I mean, who knows if we'll make it to 500? If we can't have one good birthday, I don't know if it's worth it. So I do think that this year, if there's going to be a good year, everything is in line for it to be this year. And if this year is not good, then I think that we're going to struggle to go into the 2030s. I think it's going to be a rough time. So hopefully we get a good year. I think it'll be a banger.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I feel like Jake is also kind of in that boat, right? Like the July period of next year. But I'm curious what you think in terms of QT stopping as well, right? Like, it's weird that we were in QT this year and everybody kind of expected it to be such a thriving year, but the liquidity wasn't really available if you think about it. Do you think that makes a big difference, the fact that we just stopped it December 1st? And does Q going towards QE, does it make it like the risk on and alt kind of more of that opportunity we're used to?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so much of this plays a very impactful role in a larger stack, right? Where, interest rates are such a factor in markets, because once you lower the risk-free rate, the general interest rate, then all that money that's in these pools that's earning 5% or 6% passive has to go chase more risky gains somewhere else. So it's all about the larger pools of capital that are earning a ton of free money getting pushed further into the broader market. And then another part of that is kind of QT and QE, right? Where you don't have as much tension pulling back all this capital and kind of unleashing a lot of it. So I think all these things just kind of really add up to another bullish year. But when you're in crypto and you spend your whole life on this stuff, it's easy to get over your skis, because you see how impactful it can be for the world. You see how impactful it could be as like a technology and as a sector and everything like that. So getting the timing right is extremely difficult. That's one thing that I've known and learned over the years, is you can be completely right, but you're probably early a lot of times. Like, a lot of times I'm like a year early, and that happens often, which is kind of the same thing as being wrong. But you're wrong until you're over the hills, right? Correct. So that's it's worth it.
But you're eventually right? I think that's what we're eventually going to be right here, right?
Yeah, it's like that saying, like the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. And it's like, your convictions have to be secure, and you know, you have
Yeah.
to be stable in your positions. But I'm bullish. I don't know. You know, I think we've got to have some breakout years, and I don't think 125K Bitcoin is the top.
For sure, for sure. Speaking of conviction, you guys are convicted that your AI agent hustle is going to be the number one AI platform out there, right? I mean, we talked to Jake last week, and he talked about potentially adding a whole bunch of more chains coming here, base chain and stuff like that. But the biggest thing for me was Polygon and the prediction markets coming to hustle. We just talked about MetaMask doing it, but hustle is going to actually have that too. Are you excited for that, prediction markets in hustle?
All right, so I think the prediction markets on Hustle, Polymarket launching, I think at the end of this month, it's probably in final testing now, is like the biggest push that we've had as far as like acquiring net new users, giving our consistent user base another banger feature to play around with. And it just meshes so well with like in high intelligent, high performant AI that you can just analyze each and every market. And so we have some other cool things that are built in there that'll kind of give you more action items and kind of deliver you what other people are doing on chain and within these different markets of the Polymarket bets. And so I think that the whole package that we're about to offer for the Polymarket integration is going to be next level. And I think it's a preview of how we're going to approach, the feature rich capabilities of all these other chains going forward too. So the Polymarket release is actually the one that I'm maybe the most excited for that I've been in a long time. And I'm excited all the time about this product. It's cool. It's cool as hell.
So I'm curious how much you've used it, right? And do you feel like, it's enough to where you can get like a good edge in that market? Because I'm learning more about Polymarket and these opportunities. I'm seeing about, the opportunities on, YouTube and TikTok and stuff. But how do you feel in terms of your experience with it?
Yeah, I think that there's a million. It's like a market. It's like any market. There's a million ways to get an edge. You can arbitrage different positions that are maybe off sides or off base. You can be early to a market that's not completely mature and get a like mispriced yes or no, right? You can have better than most information asymmetry, and that gives you a pretty big edge. And there's so many markets that are evolving. There's edges everywhere. So having the thing about integrating agent hustle and all this stuff is that it's agentic first, intelligence first, and then markets after. And so anyone that would want to be able to try and compete with us would have to build an intelligence platform backwards into their platform. And it's just like having the intelligence at the base level and going outward towards all these different markets, it gives us such an advantage. And so I just think that being able to have it at your fingertips, high level intelligent analysis, boom, and a secondary opinion from maybe what you're already feeling at your core is like an insane strategy. And then there's, of course, automations and a few other features that we're going to be releasing too. So I think the whole package is pretty sick.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. So potentially, let's just say I'm taking a bet on how long Trump will shake hands with so and so, right?
Legend.
And I can ask Hustle. I can say, hey, like, how long did he shake hands with the French president, with the Irish president, and stuff like that? And Hustle will give me that answer and maybe help me predict that prediction.
Yeah, of course. And he'll give you, his data-driven analysis based on it. Sure, you can do that with ChatGPT or Grok or whatever, but having it in the terminal with all these different bets and just having more of like a finance focused and like a data querying focused LLM, which is like what Agent Hustle is specific for. It's like much more in tune with the actual probabilities. So we've been doing some internal testing. The results are pretty sick. Obviously, there's no infinite money printer available that I know of yet. We're still looking, but it's quite the start. And I think that just being able to reach net new users where they are, Polymarket's arguably the biggest app of the year, crypto app of the year. It's either Polymarket or Pump Fund. And I mean, we have both integrations in Agent Hustle, and the Pump Fund integration is obviously what most people use it for, finding meme coin tokens early, looking for the next big token that might pop up from the Pump Fund deployer, et cetera, et cetera. And then now with the Polymarket launch, we have both of the biggest apps of the year, both breakout apps at your fingertips, and we're just looking to continue to grow the product. But every time I use Hustle, I'm even more impressed, man. That thing is crazy. The thing, hold on, one last thing is, when you invest in Bitcoin, or when I invested in Bitcoin, when I invested in Ethereum, when I invested in all these things, you have to have the vision of like what it can be. The vision might not always pan out, but as a tech investor, you're more of like a venture focused investor where you're investing today where it's at with the vision of where it can actually be. And when I use Agent Hustle, man, I'm just like, dude, this thing can be one of the most impactful apps ever. I mean, it's crazy to say, but like that, just its spectrum and its broad use base and how many chains and how many different applications it's able to touch wrapped around an LLM, where ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, none of these are going to touch the on-chain world for anytime soon. It's like, it's almost in its own lane of competition. Super exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I was going to say, it to me, like Agent Hustle is the ultimate pain point solver, and, my family's done business my whole life growing up. They're entrepreneurs. And, me having a digital marketing background and being interested in internet technology and computer technology, it's like, it's solving all those things. And I know how important convenience is for success of product. And that has been what I've seen. Like, I don't know if I should have a vision for Agent Hustle, but I have a vision for Agent Hustle. And my vision is it's a one-stop shop. That's what it is. I can sprinkle some Solana in my Hustle wallet. I can sprinkle some BNB in there. I can sprinkle some HBAR. And now I can start my day with my coffee if I'm a trader and say, give me the headlines, Hustle. What's hot? What's the hot ecosystem? And Hustle can guide me, help me start my day.
Yeah, when I think of these things, like, I don't know, have you seen the movie Click? Have you seen
Yeah,
Adam
I
Sandler?
actually like that movie a lot.
It's amazing, bro. I love it. But he's like a big time CEO. He dedicated his whole life to it. He finally made it. It's futuristic. He has touch screens all over. He's talking to these AIs. He's getting consistent updates. And I'm like, that's like kind of the vision of the future that I see. I wake up in the morning. I say, what happened in the markets? I talk to Hustle. He just shouts at me everything that happened on chain, knows what I would like, knows what information I'm familiar with and that I'm interested in, and can just spit it back to me. And I think that building backwards from a vision like that, it's easy to see that we're really, really close. Obviously, it's not perfect. We need to improve speed. We need to improve maybe some output clarity, and obviously hit rate is obviously a big focus. But it's extremely hard in dynamic markets. But with a few more tweaks, Agent Hustle is next level. And I look at Banker, Deployer, the founder of Banker, had a good tweet the other day that was like, all of these UI enhancements mean nothing because everything is going to the terminal. Doesn't matter how much you improve your UI, nothing beats a terminal that you can just ask what you want. And for the most part, I think that's absolutely correct. And especially in crypto, where there's a million different levers to pull that are super annoying and very high risk, because one wrong move, your whole wallet can be gone, whatever. But just speaking natural language to an intelligent AI is just like so first principles obvious to me. I can't be shaken that that's definitely the way of the future. So that's what we're building for.
Yeah, 100%. Like, well, why would I ever use a website again when I can just go to Agent Hustle in the future when it gets his way and just say, Agent Hustle, buy me so-and-so coin and stake it, right? Or, put it in a liquidity pool for me. Like, why would I go to Uniswap, swap for the coin, and then go to Aave or somewhere and stake that coin? It makes no sense. I would just do it all through my AI agent, and it's just being done all in the back end. And I know it's being done correct, right? Because I'm in there. But like, how do I know it's being correct? Is that like, is there something that you guys can almost guarantee in the future that it will be done correctly?
What are you asking would be done correctly?
So let's just say I want to make sure that it's buying the correct token and it's staking that token in that set. I guess it all depends on my product, correct?
I mean, obviously the easiest way is to reinforce your inputs. I want this token, this contract address, and it'll be correct. So that's the easiest way, is to make sure that your inputs are as clear as possible and as objectively true as possible. But if you give it like, buy me Moodang, and there's 36 Moodangs on each chain, then it's like, what is correct? I don't know. How do you know who in your head, which one's correct, but still not like a perfect.
You're not relaying the message. It's kind of like an assistant. If you tell your assistant, hey, order me a pizza, but you want a certain pizza from a certain place, that system doesn't know. It's just going to get the the near, the one
Yeah.
that they would get, right? So,
And it's
but yeah,
still
you're right.
early
It depends on
days,
your
so
prompt.
it's still early days, so just making sure that you're giving it the best shot at being correct. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Makes sense. All right. You have anything else on Agent Hustle, Yagobi? You want to move over to Migrate?
No, I guess Chris, is there any other updates on the hustle side that maybe the audience might be interested in that we haven't touched on yet?
I think the most important thing to remember with Agent Hustle is that it's being worked on every single day. Like the focus, the attention of like, looking inward from outside of the company would be like, oh, all these guys do is MigrateFun. All these guys do is maybe Emblem Vault things. And it's not as Agent Hustle focused, but Agent Hustle is like the centerpiece of the whole company. Emblem Vault will be integrated with Agent Hustle. It's like the entry point to the multi-chain world at this point as we see it. And so it's really the way that wraps all of our different products together. And so we're thinking of ways to integrate MigrateFun without making it confusing, where, maybe migrations can be processed through that more seamlessly, or maybe it can be used for FAQ and general Q&A to make teams more comfortable, and just kind of different things where we can bring everything under the hood. But obviously there's no other product like Agent Hustle on the market today. There's a few competitors, but everybody has a slightly different path, whether it's Banker, Hand-On, Griffin, whatever it might be. Everybody's building in some sort of directionally aligned way, but the actual path that they're going about it is pretty different. And so I don't know, I'm just so excited about what another year of developing Agent Hustle can look like. And I think that, I tweeted to Jake the other day, like one day people are just going to wake up and be like, how the fuck does this exist? This is like a crazy development. And so we're just going to keep on stacking features on top of features on top of features. And eventually people are going to wake up and just say, wow, can't believe that this actually exists.
Yeah, 100%. And it exists on every chain, right? I mean, you guys are the only ones on BNB, Solana, Hedera. There's a couple other ones. I think it's the one Swell and stuff like that. It's absolutely crazy. Potentially you could be on every single chain. I think that's one thing you guys are doing that no one else is really kind of focused on.
Yeah, it's like it's the Emblem Vault mission, is making it easy to access your assets or any assets, no matter wherever they live. And a lot of times in IRL, people will be like, "What does your company do? Like, what is Emblem Vault? And it's like, man, all right, how do I explain this? And Jake likes to use like an Amazon analogy. I like to use an email analogy, like back in the day. If you were a Yahoo user, you were only able to send email to other Yahoo users. Or if you were a Gmail user, you were only allowed to send users to other Google users. But then there was middleware that allowed you to open up the portal and send emails cross protocol. And that's kind of what Emblem allows you to do. It allows you to stay in your own ecosystem. You're still a Yahoo user, you're still a Google user, but you're able to send and receive emails outward and inward from different protocols. I think that's like a pretty succinct way to put it.
Yeah, and that would kind of suck if I had to, like, if I want to send someone Gmail, I had to go to my Gmail account to do that, and then go to my iCloud account to send that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's just like the internet versus like the internet, just closed systems versus open systems, but having two-way communications between both the ways. And, people still don't really understand the Emblem Vault TAM and how big it can get, but it's because this is the earliest days of the on-chain economy, and Emblem Vault is like building for a mature on-chain economy. So two different kind of levels, but by the time that the on-chain economy is mature enough, that's going to be a crazy product, I'm telling you.
It's almost like there's an on-chain revolution happening. It's crazy.
Yeah, you can't drop that shit in one episode. You cannot drop it 2 times in one episode.
Right? I think he did like 5 times today.
I do it like 9 times a day, 100%.
But it's actually so crazy how close of a kind of period that we are in with Web3 and those email days. Because like going cross chain was, I would say it's probably like maybe a couple years back, right? Like going cross chain was just like a headache and stuff. And but it does kind of give people like, get people excited to say, hey, look where email is today, which is really simple, right? Like it's not like a huge thing, but it makes our lives convenient. And I think that's where our space is going to go. And hustle is going to be a big part of that. I'm curious, like, so out of all the sectors that you guys have there, what are you most involved in? Do you feel like you have more hands-on with Migrate, Hustle, or Emblem?
Yeah, I'm definitely more on the Emblem side. Staying consistent over there. Adam does mostly MigrateFun. Jake does mostly Agent Hustle. And then we all kind of overlap in between every single day because the attention is always focused. People's schedules are a bit tied up. You have to test new products everywhere. Everything has to be, insanely battle-proof tested before it hits the market. You're still going to have a bunch of stuff wrong, but you have to be as prepared as possible. So everybody needs to be well-versed in the whole product stack. But yeah, I'm definitely more on the Emblem Vault side.
Yeah, and it's funny because like that's where kind of the roots started, right? With Emblem Vault, and you guys have so much experience. We talk about it every day at the end of our show about like you guys are pretty much the service provider to be able to take Bitcoin NFTs and ordinals over to Ethereum. But by the way, for the audience listening in, this is a revenue generating part of their business, by the way, and it's the longest revenue generating part of their business, right? So I'm curious, like, what are you most excited about the next thing for Emblem? What's the next most exciting thing for you?
I mean, so I tweeted the other day that 2025 was a breakout year for us. We began the year, we had a lot of momentum, but we were still a one product team in a struggling NFT market. We had a lot of vision of where we could be maybe at this time back then. And, now fast forward 365 days, we're a 3-product team. Our products have thousands of users, each one of them across the spectrum, real users, not like fluff numbers. Everything's authentic. Nothing's like growth hacked. There's no incentive programs launched. There's no fluffing the numbers. Everything's actually accurate and authentic. And so, number one, we're just super fortunate and just grateful that, the hard work and the directional bets that we keep on making seem to be paying off. So excited about the progress, and Emblem Vault was the one product. It is like the heart and core of our company. So what am I most excited for is just number one, just increased development on getting Emblem Vault on more chains, integrating more in Solana, integrating more across some of these further to reach chains, because there's so many siloed ecosystems that need to be brought to where the liquidity is. And as prices go down, you see more acceptance that we'll do anything as long as we can get somebody to buy whatever we're selling. We need the number to go up. There was all these chain maxis before. The number goes down 99%. They're not a chain max anymore. They need to pay rent. They want somebody to buy their whatever they're selling. So I'm excited for that, but we keep hinting on it. We've talked with you guys about it a few times, but we have a new product that we've been kind of cooking on that should be launching. That's very Emblem Vault focused and aligned. It's got to be at the right time to market, but it's an NFT product. It's want to say Q1, but that's definitely what I'm most excited for. I think that it's more of a speculative product, which we haven't really offered yet. And I think that if the conditions are right, it can be maybe overnight the biggest product that we offer. So between that, the strategies that we've launched, and the cross-chain strategies that we have coming, I think Emblem Vault itself is in such a strong position. Obviously, Agent Hustle is in a crazy position, and then MigrateFun is a beast of its own. I said last time that I was on the show, it's like, and you guys kind of proved it again with the intro. It's like we have so much going on. Outsiders looking in, it's kind of maybe a bit confusing. There's not enough clarity, and it's like maybe it seems inauthentic or overstated or exaggerated, but no, there's a ton going on and all in the right direction. So for anyone outside looking in, I wake up every day ecstatic that I get to build these products and have an impact on the industry. And I think that the next year is where we really, really break out and take hold, and people can see everything that we've been working on for the past couple of years.
Yeah, 100%. And I love how everything kind of came together too, right? Like Emblem Vault started because Shannon was an NFT historian, right? He built that, and then Hustle came because Shannon loved AI and wanted to dig deep in that. But MigrateFun actually came because it solved the problem for you guys, and that problem was you guys had this token TNSR, but wanted to give it a rebrand and change the metadata and change the image, but you couldn't do that. So you guys invented MigrateFun. And MigrateFun is about to do the biggest migration event in history. There's 20 plus teams. Could you kind of get into that for anyone who doesn't realize what's about to happen next week?
Yeah, so MigrateFun migration platform, basically what it does is it enables teams to unlock their locked liquidity and move it to whichever ecosystem or launchpad or native chain that they think that their token will thrive best on. And so before you launched a token, you were completely sucked into it. It was immutable, like blockchains are. You couldn't change the metadata. You couldn't move to a new ecosystem if the ecosystem you were living in basically didn't fit your needs or you outgrew it or anything. You were stuck. You were planted. But over the past 5 months, we've migrated 20 teams from different launchpads to newer launchpads, from launchpads to self-owned liquidity pools like Radium. And then we have Meteor integration up next after following this big group. But this big group is focused on taking teams from maybe other launchpads to PumpSwap, or even PumpFun version 1, their first contract, to PumpSwap, their new contract, which is where you can earn creative rewards, have streaming services, and basically a full suite of features and products that are within the PumpFun ecosystem. And so we migrated 20 teams before, and now we're migrating 22 teams starting December 9th. This is the biggest migration in terms of teams wise and moving parts, and the most innovative platform that we've launched. There's a trillion moving parts with these migrations. You're moving thousands of community members for each team. And there's, so many things that you really just have to buckle up and make sure are on point, because you're going into these open markets. You're buying out the bonding curve. You're buying tokens on top of the bonding curve to match the previous market cap. You're bringing community members to a totally new ecosystem and trying to do it all seamlessly at the scale that we're doing. It's operationally quite intensive, but this is the most advanced product that we've probably ever built. And we're doing extreme testing this week. We were up pretty late doing a ton of testing, and damn, the product is just sick. We finished the night just like, man, this is some crazy shit. So super excited to get it in the hands of everybody and to show off what we've been building, because the edge and kind of the advantage that we have is next level, and it's really going to start to show here.
Yeah, man. And one thing people don't know is, like, you guys had to build more technology. Like, to do pump is different than doing anywhere else that you've already done, right? So what you've done now is completely different. Well, not completely, but it's different than what you've done in the past, correct?
Yeah, there's many more dependencies. Before we were just it wasn't an easy process. You just have to do Merkle claims to a full-on liquidity pool, but there was no buying out the token bonding curve, buying out all of the additional tokens to meet the previous token market cap, making sure that everything is squared, all the metadata is secure, because before the metadata was mutable until we locked it, right? Until we burned it. But now the metadata is immutable upon token launch. So basically there's no more safeguards. Everything has to be perfect the first try. But testing is going phenomenal. So this is the most confident we've ever been going into a launch. Have to knock on wood when saying things like that. But
yeah,
because there's so many unknown unknowns, and you always have to be watching your back at every turn. But preparation is what's kind of making the difference here. And I think that this product is going to shine.
Yeah, and Shizzy was talking about how MigrateFun came out of a situation that you guys solved a pain point for yourself. But I'm curious of what your opinion is on why it works so well. Because if you look at MigrateFun, first of all, the product itself came at the perfect time for you guys as a company. It's one of the leading revenue generators, if not the leading one for you guys. Migrations have been around before in our space. Why do you think it's hitting different this time?
Yeah, migrations have always been around, but they were very difficult, and they were always very trust dependent. Can you trust the team? Can I trust anybody to collect all of the community's tokens and give them new tokens? How everything can go wrong. You're betting everything that your trust assumptions are correct. And so MigrateFun is trustless or trust minimized at the very least, but it's pretty much completely trustless. We don't have access to anyone's funds. Everything's non-custodial. there's safeguards in between the team's treasury, the new tokens, the community tokens. No, there's approvals across the board. Nobody can basically stick their hands in the cookie jar unwarranted. And I think that just people always had this idea of migrations, and maybe that they were stuck in somewhere that they wouldn't want to be, or they outgrew what their vision initially was, and they wanted to move on, but they didn't have the technical capabilities. They didn't have the community support. And so now MigrateFun is such a unique product because it takes all the technical stress out of the migration, so you can just focus on your community, which is what founders really want to do at this day and age. You know, not everyone is hyper tech focused or even have the technical capabilities to build any of these kind of different features and platforms and make sure that it goes seamlessly. So just to be able to take the stress off these founders and give them an opportunity to really move wherever they will thrive best at without worrying about the technical dependencies and capabilities, and just focus only on their community. I mean, that's a win for everybody. So it's a banger of a product that definitely needed to be built, and I'm happy that we were the ones to do it.
Yeah, 100%. And like the big thing about this migration too, obviously you can go to Pump Fund now. And why would a team want to go to Pump Fund? Well, the live stream, we're streaming there right now, right? And so now you can take an existing token technically and do the migration, and that migration will allow you to go live to your audience or to your holders and to everyone else, right? So that's exciting. That's exciting for a lot of different reasons. We're probably going to see a lot of new streamers come along now who really didn't have the chance to stream because they weren't able to stream from that token contract before. But you guys are giving them that, which I think is really awesome.
Yeah, a lot of, we built MigrateFun. We thought everyone would want to go to their own liquidity pool like we did. We went to a Radium LP. We manage our own liquidity. We receive all the fees and rewards from it. It's another revenue generating source for us as a team. That's kind of how the industry started, and we thought a lot of people will go back there. We think over a long enough timeline, we do get back there, but these launch pads do offer a very good supportive ecosystem, and that's kind of where all the eyeballs are. And then you add on streaming and a lot of these other features that might be on the horizon from the Pump team. It's kind of a no-brainer, and there's going to be more competition between each of the launch pads. But I mean, we said it earlier that Pump Fun was the breakout app of the year. I mean, it does have a polarizing community. Some people love it, some people hate it, but you cannot deny that it's the biggest thing to happen to crypto this past year. And so it's not really a surprise that a lot of people want to go to Pump Fun, or at least the new Pump Fun contract, Pump Swap, so that they can actually begin earning their creator rewards. But the boys and I were talking on our stream yesterday, and just about the streaming aspect of it. We're a tech first company, and we're in front of an audience every day of the week. We're streaming, we're doing podcasts, we're out in the open, we're transparent. And we think that that's like a critical part of our business. And so you mentioned streamers are really looking forward to this feature, but the way we see it is that everybody almost needs to utilize features like this. Like every tech forward or future looking business has to utilize these features, because you have to grow your audience. You have to get your message out. So like, we're not streamers. I'm not a streamer, but I'm streaming all the time. You know what I mean? And I think that that's just going to become a part of everyday life for any kind of serious builder.
Yeah, for sure. And that was one of the reasons why we started streaming to Pump Fund. We, you do have to launch a token to do it. And we were talking about that and saying we weren't, that wasn't going to be our focus at all. A part of it, we just wanted more eyes on our branding. And what you said about the creator fees, I think that is probably the biggest appeal to, even migrating from the old contract to the new one, right? So I think you guys are gonna be lined up for that, right? Because there's still people that are on the old contract that aren't earning creator fees that do volume daily, right? So that's something that can be a benefit to builders in the Pump Fund ecosystem as well. So that's exciting. You guys are, really showing the space that the product that you created is very much needed, and you guys aren't hurting to add new participants. They're lining up, they're knocking on the door, they're asking for when there's a next spot available in the next cohort and stuff. Do you think you're going to start seeing that in other ecosystems as well, though, not just Solana?
Yeah, and I think that you're going to see other tokens from other chains want to move to Solana. I think that you might see some business development from these chains to try and get more tokens over to their environment. I think that the age of migrations has only just begun, and obviously, I have a front row seat. I'm kind of the insider on this part of the industry, but you talked about Pump Fun V1 to Pump Swap. They don't have to do anything different except migrate their token, and they instantly get thousands of dollars every month or even every day for some of them. It's really just like an endless business opportunity for us, as long as we're the only ones doing it. But we're the only ones at the moment, and there's tons of teams that are lining up just to do that. But as more of these ecosystems come on board, whether it's a Monad or an Avalanche or a Base, they all want premier tokens. And so you might see some of the heads of these ecosystems just say, how do we get some of these tokens over here? We're looking to get some of these top tier tokens over to Base. What do we need to do? What kind of deals can we make? And maybe it's a thing where, like, you look at the streaming wars like Kick and Twitch and Rumble, and everybody has $100 million contracts to get these specific streamers on their platform. I could see something similar happening with tokens as well.
I didn't even think about that, right? Because Base is about to do their Base airdrop. They want to decentralize the chain, right? And by doing that, you create governance with the token. You need a token. Who do you give the token to? Well, you probably give it to the builders. You probably give it to maybe the Coinbase users, potentially people who do swaps on chain and stuff like that. But now you have a whole bunch of Solana teams who are like, damn, we should have launched on Base. But now they potentially could have the opportunity to just migrate to a new contract over on Base instead of actually having to, figure, because it's two different wallets, right? I mean, you can't airdrop, EVM like you can, from Base to Ethereum because it's the same address. It's a completely different address. You have to actually have to create something from the sign. But with MigrateFun, it's an easy just in and out.
Yeah, and you guys were hinting at it a bit earlier when you were talking about like Base supremacy, and you look back to the 2020 bull run, and if you were at the highest level of the industry, you had to have your own chain. If it was CZ, you had to have Binance. If you're SBF, you basically had Solana. Sailor kind of has Bitcoin. Everybody has this like figurehead that basically is like the industry titan. And I think we're just going to see more of that. I think that's like the ultimate, I made it bigger than ever in crypto. I think like that's the all-seeing, all-powerful kind of deity-like figures that we will have. And I think they're going to try and get the best businesses, the best applications on chain, the most activity, and the most sought after tokens. And we might be going into a world where it's not by chance if you have good tokens on your ecosystem. You might just be able to basically buy them or recruit them, which is pretty insane for the product that we built.
Yeah, exciting times are ahead, man, for sure. So in this upcoming one, we have a bunch of projects coming from the Believe app, right? I think there's like 8 or 9 of them. I think Jake was telling us last week. And so what happened over there in Believe, you do have Ben Pazernick, who's kind of feels like he kind of left a little bit. He's starting a new project, and these guys feel lost over there. But you guys are now going to be migrating them to Pump Fun. Do they seem excited as for like a fresh start? I feel like it's probably so refreshing.
Oh yeah, and we're like excited to have them. I mean, these are getting to know some of these products. They're like legit. They're very legit. They're building exciting things, but I would have never known of them because they were on Believe, and my focus wasn't really on Believe. But some of these teams are phenomenal, and they just need more attention. And so getting to know some of the builders over there is crazy. And I didn't even realize we knew that Believe had an impact. We knew that it was first to like the ICM narrative. But I mean, seeing some of the teams that were onboarded and just kind of like left for dead is like mind blowing. They really had an incredible thing going. So kind of a head scratcher as to what happened with that whole spiral. But I mean, we're just excited to be able to offer these teams a lifeline and get them somewhere where they deserve to be and get them some attention. And it's going to be nice to watch them thrive after everything that they've been through. Having an early stage startup is very difficult and stressful as it is. Imagine just like the launch pad that you launched on just disintegrated overnight. That was like everything that you've built, and it was completely out of your hands. So without MigrateFun, they'd be in a very dark place, I'm sure. So it's cool to offer them a lifeline, and it's going to be nice to watch them thrive on the other side.
Yeah, and like that's one thing that makes me think that you're not going to have like serious competition, is because we get to hear about like all the work that goes into it. For the people that are listening, it's not just, hey, come on the migration day and we just press a button and everybody can start migrating. There's tons of work that this team goes through, edge cases you learn. And so, for me, from my perspective, or like when I think about like someone trying to do something like this, I don't think people could get past this dealing with the centralized exchange part, and that's just one aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's as much BD focused and time intensive as it is tech based, time and resource intensive. So you have to have it. This is the biggest decision that these communities are ever going to make. Probably they're moving their whole community to a totally different environment and getting everything in line, getting everything organized, getting everybody on the same page is a defining moment in their tokens lore. And so making them feel comfortable, giving them the confidence that we're able to achieve what they need, what their needs are, and organizing thousands of token holders across all of these communities is a mission in itself. And then you have the tech side, which is a huge headache all the time. There's so many little things that need to go right in order to have all of these migrations go successful. So each migration we put through the door is, another notch on our belt where we got through another hurdle. We dodged another, risk vector or attack vector, and we're just more and more battle tested. So the experience in a market category like this is the most valuable thing that we have to offer. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. Next week's gonna be crazy. I wish you guys the best of luck on that. I'll be watching for sure. See how you guys handle it. I know you handle it great though. But we talked about hustle. We talked about MigrateFun. Now it's time to talk about what your main experience with everything is going on with Emblem Vault and Emblem Vision and stuff like that. So what are you most excited about with the future of Emblem Vault?
Yeah, so we have the new products lined up. We have the strategies that we kind of touched on. Those are getting a ton of attention, not just like the Nakamoto strategy that we're involved in, but Adam over there he opened up the platform basically to all these new strategies, and they're doing an amazing job. It's definitely like one of the most exciting things to happen to NFTs this year, and NFTs needed it. They need something new, something innovative, something to use and speculate on. The NFT market, there's like 50 buyers left. You know what I mean? So hopefully we can continue to grow and focus on that aspect and get people excited about digital collectibles again. I think that's where I believe is the most exciting part of the market, the most fun, the most like culture rich. Meme coins are cool, but there's almost nothing like having a digital collectible in your wallet that's like an absolute banger of a grail. So I think maybe we'll see more of a focus on that in the new year. And I just think that more product development, more people getting on chain, more people understanding these ecosystems. Before it was like you hold Ethereum and then you hold like Atom or something like that, Cosmos, but you never used any applications on the chain until like maybe farming came in like 2020, maybe 2019. But before you would just hold the tokens. And then people built businesses on the tokens and the ecosystems. And then eventually people are going to say, okay, I have all these collectibles between all these ecosystems. I need to use them in different applications across the board. And then that's like Emblem Vault's breakout moment. So just continuing to build to get there and just kind of, offering more product awareness, doubling down on all of our power users and really making sure that they feel seen and taken care of, and we're meeting all the needs that they have, because Emblem Vault, our Emblem Vault users have been there with us through it all. It's been a long journey of many, many years for some of these people, and they've been supporters of the vision since day one. And so we always want to make sure that they feel comfortable and are taken care of. So I think just always refocusing on our power users and making sure that all of their needs are met. But there's a lot of talk of maybe reducing the price of an Emblem Vault. It's $20 to get an Emblem Vault right now. What if we reduce that to 15 or 12, without the discount? What does the volume on the platform look like? How does the TVL increase? Because there's a lot of arbitrage opportunities with these lower level kind of rare Pepe cards specifically right now, where they're $15 for the card, but you can get them on a XCP dispenser for $8, and then you can vault it and maybe take like $2 or $3 off the top. And so there's a lot of volume in these smaller kind of niches, and maybe we'll experiment with some pricing dynamics and just getting more vaults into more people's hands. I think that's probably a focus of the new year. How do we get more vaults into people's hands?
Yeah, and I do think that the strategy. I'm excited about the strategy part of it, and it's going to be interesting because we got to see a glimpse of it with Punk strategy whenever Risk On was kind of back a little bit, and so I don't even necessarily think we have to wait for a full on NFT season to see the Nakamoto strategy and the other future collections that you guys help with that to see benefits, because I think if we get in a Risk On where memes start to run, those could actually start generating first. And then when we get to the NFT side of things, it could be a full-blown flywheel at that point. And all y'all's products like work together at some point too, because at that point you're going to increase vaults because people are going to take their Nakamotos over to Ethereum and sell them in different marketplaces while the token is going up. So definitely excited about that.
Yeah, and all of our products are definitely a function of on-chain activity and on-chain wealth and on-chain prosperity. And Ethereum specifically has been kind of a lull, right? It's $3,000, but look at Nakamoto strategy. It holds, I don't know, 25 ETH or something like that. But what happens? The market cap's like 400,000 last time I looked. What happens when ETH goes to 4,500? Automatically, now that protocol owns ETH. It's worth 30% higher. So in theory, the market cap should return to 30% higher, all things equal, right? What happens when Nakamoto cards, a few of them get bought up off the market? It's no longer 42 ETH, but it's 80 ETH, and it holds one or two of them. Then the market cap, in theory, should double, all things equal. So there's just, and then you have the burning aspect of the Nakamoto token from the sales. It's actually like a pretty pristine product that they've built over there. And I think that once people see it really get going, I mean, the Nakamoto strategy is slow. It's slower than many because the asset value is so high, but once these things get going, it's going to be crazy because number one, there's only a few Nakamoto cards even available on the market. They're going to get the price gaps on the way up can be extremely crazy, but once it gets its first has to get its first buy, and then it gets its first sale, and then it takes the ETH from that sale, automatically buys the Naka strategy token and burns it away from the supply forever. So just the reflexivity that we could see here coming up. We own like 10% of the supply, I think, at this point. And that's 10% now. But if you burn 10% or 20%, that goes to 15 or 20% automatically. So we're going to keep on increasing our position. We're huge fans of what they're doing over there. It's an exciting product for us. And I think that, I don't know, I think you can see that strategy break out pretty hard this upcoming year. It's going to be sick.
Yeah, 100%. I love the strategies for sure. But you guys are also solving a need too, right? Because like for instance, for Abstract Chain, they want the pudgies, right? They want pudgies over there, but there's no way actually to do that right now. Same thing with the Bored Apes, right? They want them on Ape Chain, but there's no way to do that right now. Emblem Vault solves that problem here in the future, to where you're locking them in a wallet and you're using LIP protocol kind of in the back end, and now you're able to kind of move it over there. But then potentially you want to move it back as well. In one click of a button, you can move back to ETH and put it back on OpenSea on the ETH side. Maybe somebody doesn't want to buy it in that wrapped form, right? So you guys can unlock it and put it there. So another problem that's just waiting to be solved.
Damn, you mentioned some teams and some things, and we got to get back to some of these things because maybe they got put on the back burner a little bit. So we do have some more focus to do. But yeah, a lot of these teams need to get their native assets to their native chains without, wrecking the provenance of the initial token. And Emblem Vault is a perfect solution for that. That's literally what it was built for. And I mean, you just reminded me that, we just have a lot going on. Sometimes some of these get pushed on the back burner that we need to, get the innovations through the door because there's some people waiting for some of those things you talked about.
Yeah, but that's just what it is, right? There's just so many needs that are happening all over the place that you guys are just kind of solving them one by one, right? And it's just really cool to kind of see, especially us. We've been following you guys for, I mean, forever, since 2023, and it's just kind of cool to kind of see not only you guys aren't staying in one spot. Like, you could have focused on this, that could have been done by now. But you see, you guys have your mindset is set on the entire ecosystem and how you guys can grow and all this stuff. So everything kind of comes. But then eventually, I'm going to be able to go to Agent Hustle and tell Agent Hustle to vault my penguin and then take that to abstract. So I feel like everything's kind of happening for a reason, and it's all happening, like, it's all going to eventually come together.
Yeah, and we have very vision heavy products where, if things play out, they are some of the biggest companies ever in the world. Like Emblem Vault has the potential to be one of the biggest infrastructures in crypto. How many digital collectibles can there be? Billions of digital collectibles. How many of them need to move between different chains? Millions and millions and millions over the course of the mature crypto landscape. And so, we have these vision heavy products, but then MigrateFun is a now product where we have consistent revenue. It allows us to have a greater vision because we don't have to act on short-term needs with all these other products. We can take the time to develop them to the maturity that they need to be, while MigrateFun offers sustainable, consistent income as that vision kind of takes hold. So all of our products definitely fill a need within the ecosystem. And I just go back to, last year, this time, we were a 1 product team. We're now a 3 product team that has pretty significant revenues on the horizon. The products are growing really, really quickly. I don't think that's going to slow down. I think it's going to speed up. But what does that mean for 365 days from now? We're a 3 product team today. Are we a 4 or 5 product team this time next year? It's just super exciting. And that the products like Agent Hustle, that always has consistent development because there's so much for it to do. But like Emblem Vault, the core product doesn't take a lot of maintenance. It just kind of exists. MigrateFun, once we open it to the public, it doesn't take a lot of innovation from there. It's just getting it to that point. And then you can kind of refocus on what else does the market need. So don't think of Emblem Vault as a company of like what we have today. Think of it as a company of what we might have in 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, because that's where the vision gets pretty crazy.
Yeah, man, 100%.
And all three of those products are revenue generating. I just want to add that on there because teams can get stuck in wanting to make a product perfect and it's going to be ready and this and that. No, all 3 products are revenue generating. So I think on top of the vision, you guys are actionable. And that is very, very important for our space right now. So, Chris, appreciate you and, the whole Emblem crew. You guys, I know, we have the pleasure of getting, a different one sometimes every week. And, you guys are super busy. So you guys are sacrificing your time to be able to speak to us in our community. And we're very thankful for that. But I wanted to give you the stage one last time to kind of, maybe you missed something or anything like that to the audience there.
No, man, just super appreciative of you guys, looking forward to a big year upcoming in 2026. And, I've been into entrepreneurship my whole life. I've been into the greatest entrepreneurs of all time my whole life. That's like who I idolize. Some people want it to be like rock stars. I want it to be, like a found up starter and things like that. And so, I just, we live every day and we wake up and we get to do this. It's the biggest blessing of all time. And when I look at what I'm doing every day, there's no doubt in my mind that this is, intentionally, we're trying to build some of the biggest infrastructure that will exist. And I just think that we're delivering extremely greatly on that vision and on that intention. And so I think 2026 is going to be a banger of a year. I think it's the breakout year of Emblem Vault. So definitely keep tabs on it. Keep your eyes on it. It's going to be sick.
Absolutely awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much, Chris. Really appreciate you. And to next time, man. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk soon. Peace.
All right.
See you, Chris.
Bye.
Absolutely awesome as always, man. What a show! What a show today. Friday, it's one of those days too where market's just down. But if you just keep your head down and you keep building like those guys do, and you're out there and you're seeing this every single Friday, I mean, you're absolutely nuts that you're not trying to take advantage of it, not financial ways whatsoever. But but just really appreciate those guys. And, they do have one token for all 3 projects, which is the Hustle token, just so you guys know. But that's our show for you guys today, man. Really appreciate you guys hanging with us today. Oh, shout out to Ryan. Let's go.
Yep, Ryan Boylan says, keep the faith and hold strong. We're almost there. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you. And I think he had made some amazing comments before, talking about how he, learning together. I think that's very important, right? And paying attention whenever like founders in our space, because we're still close to ground zero in terms of, finding these entrepreneurs that are similar to the .com bubble that ended up selling their companies for hundreds of millions of dollars and stuff like that, right? And so the Emblem team, in my opinion, is going to be one of those successful type of teams. All 3 products revenue generating, and so we'll see how 2026 is going to be for them, because I know it's going to be a big year. I think the question is, how big of a year?
100%. The revolution is real, Ryan says. Time is now. But really appreciate you, Ryan. Really appreciate you, Stan, Batoshi, my guy, and everyone else, Albert, everyone else commented today. The comments, guys, they're so needed. Like I tell Yagobi all the time, I was like, how can we get more comments? The comments is what we need. The comments is what
They've
we
been
need.
stepping up.
And you guys have been stepping up 100%. And just wanted to let you guys know how much we appreciate it. 100%.
Absolutely, guys. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Without y'all, we could not do this, and we are very grateful for that, right? Your support and viewership and all that great stuff. Also, without our partners, we couldn't do it. So if you could check them out, we would greatly appreciate that. Emblem Vault is the interoperability layer of the Bitcoin ecosystem. We just kind of went over all that stuff, but I'm going to tell you, what you can do right now, and that's take one of the Bitcoin NFTs that are any counterparty NFT, but also Bitcoin ordinals over to Ethereum. And right now you can actually take a loan out against your Taproot Wizard if you want to bridge it over there to the Gandhi application, which is the largest borrowing and lending application on the Ethereum blockchain. And the Emblem team is going to open this up for other scaling layers and environments as well. And Solana is on that list of where they're going to open up to. And speaking of Solana, they have the best AI product in all of Solana, but not just Solana, also Hedera, Hashgraph, Binance Smart Chain, and other EVM tech stacks is coming as well. But it's called agenthustle.ai. And if you go there, you can actually use the free subscription level to try it out. On that level, you can only get a couple prompts, but you can at least test it out. You can ask Hustle to find you some low cap gems in whatever chain you're in there, and he'll bring back some options for you and why these are good options to, have that upside opportunity on. Also, you can make conditional trades with Agent Hustle, as there's a trading engine built into Hustle. So if you need to go to the grocery store, go to the gym, take care of whatever you need to take care of, he will hit those buy and sell limit orders on your behalf. But there's going to be more as well that's going to be added to Hustle. And again, there's a subscription levels. There's that free one that has limited prompts and limited tool sets. But if you want to have an edge, you got to upgrade that to a paid subscription level, and you get a discount if you use the Hustle token. And the Hustle token is the single token that powers the entire Emblem ecosystem. But there's one more product in the ecosystem called MigrateFun. We talked about it as well on the show today. But MigrateFun allows you to migrate your liquidity and your community to another launchpad if you'd like. Let's say you launched on Pump Fund, you want to migrate to Bonk. This team can help you do that. Of course, you need to have your community on board, but they can guide you through the process and make it easy as possible for you. But you can reach out to them as they are about to start their 3rd cohort. Might not be any space in that one, but in the future, I'm sure they do have open spots, and you can reach out to them through migrate.fun or emblem.vision, where you can learn about all the products I just broke down for you guys. And then Merlin Chain is uniting Bitcoin strength through the power of AI. They have their Wizard version 2.0 AI agent that can guide you through Merlin Chain's ecosystem, but it can also swap for tokens across other ecosystems for you. All you got to do is have some Merlin Chain Bitcoin in your Merlin Chain wallet, and they can swap for Solana tokens or BSC tokens on your behalf. But it can guide you through Merlin Chain's ecosystem as well and do DeFi functionalities on your behalf, like swapping using Merlin Swap or staking on your behalf. And speaking of staking, they have a proof of stake security model for Merlin Chain. And you can participate in 3 ways. The first way is staking Bitcoin to earn more Bitcoin, which their first staking vault ended September 30th, and they got 17% APR. They are 3-month staking vaults, so just know that. And they're in the second staking vault right now. You can actually join whenever, but you got about a month and 3 days if you join now, because it ends January ETH. But they're going to be shooting for that same APR range, minimum 8%, maximum 21%. And then there's two ways to participate with the Merlin Chain token. There's the flexible option, which is a day-to-day option. You earn 15% APR through this option. You can claim your rewards daily. But if you want to withdraw your Merlin Chain tokens after you stake, there's a 7-day cooldown period, so just know that. And then there's the bonded option, which is a little bit longer. It goes 6 months. So it's, it's a 6-month process for the staking vault, but you earn 45% APR. And the cool thing about this is you can claim your rewards daily as well. So just know it's locked up for 6 months, but the APR is definitely juicy there. Head over to merlinchain.io to learn about all the staking and the ecosystem as well, and follow them on X so you can learn about their latest updates there. Thank you guys so much for checking out our partners.
Yep. Great job, man, as always. And if you guys have a few more minutes and wouldn't mind checking out onchainrevolution.io, some of the best articles dating all the way back to 2023. If you know someone just entering a space, please send them our website. We really feel like it can help them get started and code up to where we are today. Brand new article just dropped this week, Fed and QT. These are about 3 to 4 minute reads, guys. Check them out one by one. They're absolutely amazing. Really get you caught up on what's going on. We got a Monad one, Bitcoin 30% drops, and so many more. Check them all out here. If you guys need a VPN, I highly recommend NordVPN. Like I said earlier, I use MEXC pretty much as my main exchange. I couldn't do that, though, without my VPN. Having a VPN lets me just sign in with my email. I do treat MEXC like a public restroom. I get in, do my business, and get out. I do not keep my coins on there, but I'm not paying ridiculous fees from Coinbase, right? So I can't wait for them to, be over here and be legal in the US as well without the VPN. But for now, I can have my VPN on me. Same thing with Hyperliquid. Same thing with Polymarket, right? Some of them you need a VPN to use them, especially with MetaMask now. It's gonna say, hey, you can't do this, even if through MetaMask wallet because of where you're located. But if you put the VPN on Italy, you can actually access everything, which is awesome. And on top of that, if you want to watch, Netflix, a different country, or TikTok or whatever, you can just set it to a different country. You get different TikToks, you get different Netflix videos. It's actually really cool. So check out that today and get yourself a VPN. Lock it in. And speaking of lock it in, if you guys want to lock in your crypto into a hardware wallet, keep it off chain, keep it safe. Make sure you're doing that with a Ledger. I don't trust any other hardware wallet. I really just trust the Ledger at this point. So I highly recommend you guys. I think I got some deals over here. I love this one, Ledger Nano X. You can get it right now for $75. This is the one that I have. Highly recommend this one. I've used it many times, never had an issue. Recently, someone had a XRP in I think it's called something PAL. It was like an XRP wallet, and he didn't realize he was using the offline or the hot wallet version and not the cold storage. And he's about to retire. He lost $2 million. Imagine that, guys, working your whole life buying cryptocurrency that you truly believe in, and then one day you wake up and it's gone. With the hardware wallet like Ledger, you don't have to worry about that. So get yourself a Ledger Nano today. And we really appreciate you guys, man. Remember, we are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and 3 p.m. UTC. Check us out all week, guys. Until Monday.
Peace.
OnChain revolution roll call. Market recap. You're not bullish enough. No. You're not bullish enough. No. Look at the price go. Bitcoin control. Why you still coping? Price action rolling. Don't fall for bear trap. Swapping indexes and putting it up in the sex. I can take profit right now. OnChain is where I be now. You can never look back. They don't want you to know. How did the market react? Fear and greed gotta adapt. Now we bridging the tokens and arching the network right now. You know how crazy we are. Nookies are savages now. They know how crazy we are. Chain abstraction, main attraction.